to play out the way that they should now in this early alpha and beta testing. So we feel really good about the direction that it's going in, and it makes us that much more excited for 2025.
Yeah, and of course, with 2025, one of the things that we've talked about kind of ad nauseum, I feel like, or at least I know there's been the conversations, maybe not on the broadcast, but of course, behind the scenes for sure, of next year, it's all Storm Gang simulation cars. And that is something that I know I'm really excited about. If there's anyone that questions what that process looks like, can you kind of give a very top-down overview of kind of how you build a car out in rFactor 2?
Well, it takes a lot of hands to lift the house because, man, there is just so much that goes into it. Everything from getting the physics working, correlating to the 3D models because they are intertwined, to getting mountains of testing data, just feedback from that, and really looking at the performance of those cars, the teams that are working on the liveries, on the templates. And everybody goes out and then experiences the cars and gives us that really great feedback, either directly or just by running the cars in the championship. It takes a village, and all of these cars, all of the package benefits from that. So it's months of work. You got to have a good sense of basically how to program, how to work physics, how rFactor 2 works, how the specifications in reality work, not only just with the cars themselves, like what the reactions are and everything, but how IMSA and WEC are adjusting things as they go along throughout the year, because it's not static. I mean, as you've seen with the real life VOP process, things change constantly, and you have to kind of be able to react to that, and we do. So yeah, it's a ton of work, but it's very satisfying when you do hit a lot of those really important critical elements just right. And we're proud of what we've got, and we know that it's going to just keep getting better.
It's going to be really exciting to see how that development goes and where round one of next year takes us. Now, calendar for next year, I have to ask, because I know this year's calendar was very tied to real life to an extent here. Next year's calendar, are we going to keep that same sort of setup, or is that something you're ready to discuss? Or are we keeping that kind of behind the curtain?
No. I mean, for the modern, I think everyone can fully expect to see the same type of thing, same running of the calendar events. We're going to be targeting for VWSC on Saturdays to hit it the weekend before, wherever possible. There might be some moving around depending on holidays and what have you. But continuing that tradition. And then for the historics, we're just going to kind of dot those in there as close to the original dates as possible, so long as they don't interfere with the modern calendar, because that one kind of is the precedent for everything else. And then IMSA and NARS on our Thursday division, that one's going to run the same calendar there, where I'm not sure if it's the weekend before or after that Matthew's going for, but similar approach, just having the race right around the same weekend that the real race runs, so that way drivers can tune in and either take pointers or just enjoy the fact, like, oh yeah, I raced on that corner. I know exactly what they're doing with there, and just really encourage that interaction between real life and sim.
It's going to be really, really fun to see all of that come together through. And, I'm really looking forward to next year. But of course, we still have this round 13 to go. What are the expectations for today, tonight, this afternoon, this morning, wherever you're at in the world? It's some time of day. It's race time, though. What are we expecting out of Bahrain here specifically? What have you seen through practice? Any big things we should watch out for here in the booth?
I know that there are a lot of drivers who have nothing left to lose at the end of the season. So I think that they're going to be ready and willing to do what it takes to just perform and finish well. They're not holding anything back, basically. So it's going to be a lot of wild racing throughout the entire event, and you're going to see some bold moves. You're going to see some interesting strategies play out as drivers react to some teams, not having anything else on the line, and other teams definitely trying to play for championship hopes. As far as individual cars and everything, it's kind of a toss-up. You're going to see a lot of the cars start to use their tires up, and it's going to change the balance of the race, and cars specifically, as they just use up a lot of their rear tires, I think is going to be one of the biggest pushes. and just the dynamics are going to change. So just kind of keep an eye out for that as we get towards the mid slash end points of fuel and tire stints. You're going to see some of the drivers that maybe they were like, the Ferraris, the 296s, the GT3s, maybe they're going to be really strong out of the gate. And then as they light up those rear tires and put them through their paces, they might start to fade a little bit. But yeah, it's going to be exciting all the way around. This place is it's very interesting the way it deals with the car dynamics.
I definitely think it's going to be fun to watch through. And Ross, where am I going to see you at the end of this race? Of course, nothing left to lose. Final round. Come on, tell me you're going to win.
I can tell you that if there's an incident, I'll lock my brakes, and that's about it. But I'm just enjoying probably what's going to be the last full season contention here for a while. I'm going to go on a sabbatical hiatus, whatever you want to call it, as I spend a lot of focus on getting the rest of these cars ready for the workshop and looking really good, so that way everyone who's driving them, you guys in the broadcast, can really enjoy a very premium product when it comes out through next year. But I'm celebrating a little bit. It's not my 100th race yet for VWSC, but that's going to come up in a couple rounds for the historics. But I got a special livery dedicated to that, so give you guys a little something to look at.
Awesome. Well, I'll keep that in mind. I'm probably going to forget it before I go to bed. But Ross, we're going to let you go get lined up on the grid here. Good luck. We'll see how things go. Of course, it's hot, so stay cool, and maybe we'll talk to you in a couple hours.
I would look forward to it. But yeah, you guys enjoy the show, and yeah, good luck.
Awesome. Thanks, Ross. We'll talk to you later. All right, Nico. So what this tells me is, one, we're in the desert and it's hot, but two, we might see some moves we haven't seen all season.
I mean, alternatively, we're in the night in the desert, so it gets extremely cold as an opposing force. So, yeah, I think the contrast could throw some people off. Either way, Bahrain is always a very, very fascinating racetrack. Goes from very wide to very narrow in a span of centimeters, as the Tilke tracks very happily do. And yeah, I think it's all about car placement, all about traffic management, and with these guys, obviously for one last time, I think we're in for a good show.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a very, very good show here. Drivers are warming up. They're getting ready. They're getting mentally psyched. It's that final round. For a lot of drivers, the pressure's off. But I do want to bring attention to a battle we've watched all season, and it's a Hypercar AM. We still don't have Jerry Chen and George Angelides sorted out. According to my records, it's an 18-point gap for them. Either one of them have a good day, it's a good day. And I am being told that David Junt had a very bad qualifying. I'm trying to double check. He's all the way back in P7, which is not normal for him, going pretty far back in GT3. So, of course, GT3, 31 points separate David Junt and JT Tammy. If anything goes wrong for either of them, but of course, JT Tammy only qualified P5, we could see some fireworks at the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially, as you said, the championship fight is still going in. I know that George Angelides isn't the guy that just rolls over and quits. I don't think that 18 points is going to deter him from fighting. Especially, if it's mathematically still possible, he's going to fight until it's no longer mathematically possible. And generally that would be, when they cross the line, and he would be far too beaten down. But I don't think that, it's too early to tell. It's too early to make any sort of judgment there. And I'm just looking forward to seeing everyone on track, seeing everyone at their best one last time this year.
Yeah, and this is, again, the final round. 2025 is well under works. 2025 is going to be amazing. But to get to 2025, we got to get through 2024. And to get through 2024, we've got to see the checkered flag of round 13. To see the checkered flag, we need to see the green flag. And as we line up on the grid here, let's go ahead for the final time here of this modern run. Get ready for the order here in just a couple minutes. You thought I was going to give you the grid order right now. No, we're going to make you wait a minute here. It's not there yet. We're starting in the afternoon. We're looking at the setup. We have pace laps, everyone. Come on now. We're not gonna just jump in on such a good introduction. I gotta add that little bit of a Nico, what am I looking for? A little bit of a
Anticipation.
Yeah, the anticipation, and now I can walk you through the grid order for the final round. Dan Herlock in the lead with Ben Kesby in second place there, and Robin Moling and Timon Subic, your top 4 there, row 1 and row 2 respectively. From there, we're going to go Michael Locke and Voorde de Bruin in 6th place, Magnus Dahlgren in P7, and Becky Heatley in 8th place in Hypercar and an Alpine A424. From there, we've got Hypercar AM pole position to Jerry Chin with John Uyen in P10, and then George Angelides down in 11th place with Craig Pullen in 12th. From there, we're going P13. It's John Mayer, P14, Eric Monet, Adam Gray, and Luke Goodlife. Round out your top 16. From there, it is Vinicius Goncalves in P17. And then in 18th place, we have Alexander Saramia. And then 19th is Benjamin Porteous Heath. P20 is going to be your GT3 pole sitter of Eduardo Benica. P21 is Robert Strachan, 22nd. Johnny Gutierrez, JT Tammy in 23rd. Vasilis Katarinakis in 24th. From there, we're looking at 25th place, which is going to be Alan Holden. Sorry, no, David Junt, Adrian Rice in 26th, James Walker in 27th, and Stephen Miller, your GT3 and pole sitter, in 28th. From there, we're going P29, which is going to be Jamie Zalecki, Ross Smith down in 30th with Gilles Lalonde in 31st, with Matthew Bice in 32nd. From there, we're going to keep going down the Bice family order here, and it's going to be Mike Bice in 33rd, Stephen Bice in 34th, Stuart Barge in 35th, and Alan Holden down in 36th place. Apologies that I had him a little bit further up, but no, he will be our last place, the caboose of these pace cars, this pacing field, as they go down the backstretch here, and we get ready for what should be some good action.
Absolutely. We're now approaching turn 11, and my one big critic point with Bahrain, I'd say, is, there's no iconic corner names. It's all just, turn 1 to turn 15, done deal. We couldn't think of corner names. It's all done now.
I mean, I'm in America, so it could be the fun of, they could have just named everything turn 1, turn 1A, turn 1B. I mean, there's worse ways to name a corner. I would say if there's iconic corners, though, it's 11, 12, and 13 that they're going through now. This uphill section, I think, is probably really what most people know Bahrain for. Yeah,
very, very nice, of course. On the TV cams, it's a little bit subtle, but, very relatively decently fast, swinging corners, high speed, and basically going slightly up in elevation. With downforce cars like the Hypercars, you have no problem at all finding the grip, or with F1 cars, with GT3 cars. But, there's still like a lot of force dragging you to the outside, so they're now finally making their way to turn 14 and 15. Slightly odd little double apex at the end of the lap, and they're about to get going.
And as the Hypercars come through, we have the GT3s there in the bottom right. You can see they're tucked right up on the back of the Hypercars. Traditionally, this isn't how we see them, but as they come through, Hypercars will come around that double apex, 14-15. It's going to set Dan Herlock up for the lead. Dan Herlock leaving it as long as he pleases, because he's going to lead us off here for the final round of the season. GT3's right behind. And of course, remember, in Hypercars, Dan Herlock, he's in second place in the championship. Dan Kirby's won it. He is not here today, so Dan Herlock... Oh! That was a big mistime start there from the Hypercars. Wow.
That was a complete jump stop there.
That was more than a jump start. That was a
wow.
Leap start. Are we in Brazil? Voorde de Bruin. It's like we're in Brazil. That was... Yeah, and he is in the Peugeot there up front. Down in the bottom right, I do want to make sure you see the GT3 battle. Robert Strachan and Eduardo Benica getting a battle on very early to start things out here as we go. But man, Hypercars absolutely mistiming everything there for Voorde de Bruin. We'll get a replay of that here in just a little bit once we get the first couple of laps under our belt. if we get the first couple of laps under our belt, because that was I saw carbon fiber fly, and Nico, I haven't seen anything like that all season.
Yeah, I'm hoping that there was just maybe a couple of flicks at the front, not just a whole rear wing element, because those cars are obviously very, very aero sensitive, and I'd rather have understeer under high-speed corners than oversteer. And yeah, I don't quite know what happened there. De Bruyne obviously very, very fast on the trigger, but there was another car, and I think that was a Ferrari, that basically sheared off to the side very, very quickly, obviously a bit misled, thinking that Herlock was already going, and then, if I had $1 for seeing a start crash at a rolling start with the WEC type of field this year in R Factor 2, I'd have $2, which isn't a lot, but it's weird it happened twice now.
Yeah, that's probably the best way. Okay, composure together here. We've got an hour and 58 minutes to go through, and no, Nico, that's the best point here, and one of the best points I want to bring is this long main straight. Hardly brings into turn one. Woodard, De Bruyne, and Herlock come together into turn one. We're going to see that so much through the night, and I haven't even talked about it. Long straightaways, 1 of 3 here, and then you get through the turn 2-3 complex, and you have this short run down into turn 4, a bunch of curvy bits. Between 10 and 11 is a short little straightaway, and then between 13 and 14, 15 is a straightaway. So you've essentially got 3 straights to try to set up slipstream, but that main straight is so long. We're going to see people go for Daniel Ricciardo, Max Verstappen, anyone who thinks they can get ahead at the Apex-esque dives into turn 1. It's going to be glorious.
I think the big tricky part around here, every single time you're getting to the end of one of these longer straights, even here, down to turn 11, this is the most, believe it or not, the most tame braking zone, I'd say, because it still keeps a relatively equal, rhythm through the corner, as we have the replay here now. I think that should be for the start. Yes, that is. And there's a very big live window. So, someone... Oh. We're getting a quick, there we are. Without the live action out of the way, we can see a little bit clearer now, but...
Oh! So it's just a complete mistime from Kesby ahead.
Yeah, I am wondering why he gunned it so suddenly. Really confused there.
I don't know, that is one of those mistakes you don't see often here. And as we go down the main straight here, that is Magnus Dahlgren looking for the pass through onto Bruin, goes through, are on the brakes, and then there is Kesby trying to go up the inside to the outside, side by side through turn 3, and it is going to be De Bruin who clears the apex there into turn 3. Yeah, it's very rare to see moments like that happen here in this league, but again, we heard Ross say it as Kesby decides to dive it up the inside of De Bruin into turn 4 here, and now they're going to just keep it side by side. And now Kesby cedes the position. Nobody has anything to lose, and maybe it's a case of they just wanted to get that little bit more of a jump. They thought they were going, and then before they could react, they were too far into it.
I think especially in this kind of start, it's a rolling start. People usually say, okay, yeah, that's less risk than a standing start, because, with a standing start, you have the problem that people could stall, people could, have a bad getaway, and all of a sudden people are 5 wide. But the problem with the rolling start, of course, is, you're basically either listening to a spotter that's basically giving you the green, like if you're going to the American side, where we hear that very, very often, in the team radios from IndyCar and the like, or you're basically just looking for the slightest reaction from the guy in front of you, and Kesby and De Bruin seeing some sort of movement there, gunning it immediately, and, well, very quickly caught out with, oh god, this was definitely the wrong move. Step on the brakes, and De Bruin obviously couldn't quite really do a lot there in the end.
It's unfortunate, but it's something that you have to practice for, and it can happen, and, why not just add that little bit of something to the season finale here as we go through. We got the GT3s on the main screen. We switch that up to the front of the hypercars as they go down the main straight. And look at the wiggle from Herlock on the brakes. None of these hypercars are liking turn 1. I mean, that is like, don't get me wrong, we've seen them struggle with braking, but these hypercars are absolutely just kicking it out as they go down. They don't seem happy with the hot weather, but of course, as we race through and, head down into the evening, I think the cars will settle down a little bit more, but here at the beginning of the race, they really need to manage those brakes.
Yeah, I think that's just in general at the moment a slightly tricky thing. I mean, Herlock's obviously very, very on edge with that car. That setup is seemingly very, very oversteery. So quite agile, of course, but in turn one, we can see how much he's having trouble actually setting the car up stably into the corner. And that's actually how he got past the Bruin earlier. The Bruin completely caught out, that basically became stationary ahead of him, and then basically just had to, well, try and move past. But yeah, there was nowhere to go. Gives him a little bit of a kiss on the rear and sends him off on his way to school.
And sometimes that's all you can do is just, send them off to school, let them see what happens. And things work out in the end. We've got the GT3s in the bottom right-hand corner here, and that battle as it proceeds up in the main screen. You've got your leaders in hypercars. Big shout out to Paul Glover in the background for the picture-in-picture here on this round 13. Johnny Gutierrez on the main screen here as we come through and around and send it down through. Gutierrez 4th place in the GT3 class right now, and you can see that Mustang looks very comfortable, I would say. I know the Aston Martin is kind of the OP car of the race and, of the run as we go, as they come out of turn 10 down into turn 11, but the Mustang has looked really comfortable and confident all season. And maybe I'm just saying that because I own a Ford Ranger and I do like Fords, and I used to own a Mustang, but they look like they're a lot of fun to drive. So if I might end up on track next year a time or two just for fun. NARS is always a Thursday night option, so you could always jump in on a Mustang.
Yeah, never a bad pick for sure. Very rich racing history, of course. One of the, real-life racing news, actually, that Mustang's pretty much returning back to the DTM grid for the first time in 30 years next year, with Help Racing making a switch from Mercedes over to Ford. So, yeah, quite a historic sight there. And the Mustang as well, in WEC, it's been performing very, very well. Having seen it live at Spa this year as well for the Spa 6 hours, very imposing sound, very nice classic American muscle sound, and yeah, just seemingly a very well-performing overall package. Even if maybe the peak pace isn't quite the same as, for example, the Aston Martin, but still a very comfortable platform. If you're comfortable, you can be consistent. If you're consistent, that's way better than peak pace any time of day.
Yeah, kind of. When I went to the 24-hour Rolex, seeing the Mustang there and the IMSA setup running in GT3 and seeing it compared to some of the other GT3 cars, you could hear the sound difference. It was very noticeable. It's a very, very fun car. Herlock with a run on Dahlgren here, 0.2 of a second, separating them as they go down the main straight into turn 1. We're going to have Dahlgren defending the inside here, but Herlock makes that look easy as taking candy on Halloween. I mean, that was just a real simple pass around the outside. Dahlgren said, I'll defend the inside, and Herlock said, that's fine, I'll just pass you before we even get to the braking zone, and just send it on around. I have a feeling we're going to see that a lot through this race, and only 9 minutes have passed of these 2 hours.
Gotta say, though, as much as he made it look early, Herlock is quite strong on the brakes, but that once again was a really squirrely entrance into turn 1 up to the apex. So obviously a lot of rear brake bias on that car. And I'm a little bit concerned for him here because, it's still in the daytime. It's still where the track's incredibly hot. And these tires could eat themselves alive very, very quickly in this set of circumstances.
That they could, and if they do, it will prove a whole nother problem entirely. I'm very curious to see. I know fuel is usually our limiting. That's a GT3 that's just all the way off the track through turn 12 and comes in. The leader's now starting to lap drivers as we go. We'll see if we can't get a quick replay of who that was and what happened, because I have a feeling that was our friend Ross Smith. But this is actually a separate moment, it appears.
Ooh.
That's Mullen just... That was a weird left-hand snap out of nowhere.
Yeah, slightly in dirty air, braking, having a little bit of a wiggle there, and just having it a little bit too aggressive, a bit too late on those cars. I mean, having driven these cars in this mod and also in Le Mans Ultimate, they are an absolute handful. They are insanely complex to drive with Magnus Dahlgren all sorts of squirrely on the brakes there. I'm not sure if that was maybe a little bit of visual desync or if that was, you know, the maximum amount of car control there on a very, very nervous car, but looked like a ride and a half.
That it did. This is the replay of what happened to Ross Smith, and he just bottomed out into turn 11, and then the back end kicked. Oh, very, very lucky to avoid there, and then he is stopped in the worst possible place on that inside apex for turn 11 into turn 12. Gets the car kicked around right as our hypercar leaders send it through, and of course Ross running that gorgeous shiny pink chrome 100 livery run. Look at the braking job there from Kesby getting to the back. Now we're getting through the Bice brothers and getting our way through. Hypercars now gonna have a problem for the rest of the race, and we like to call this traffic.
It's sometimes it's a problem, sometimes it's a minor inconvenience, and sometimes it's, you know, the ace up your sleeve that you forgot you had taped in there before going to the casino. And yeah, right now you can see, for example, you know, this NSX basically just trying to stay on their racing line, basically just minding their own race. It is the responsibility of the faster class to make a safe pass, but the slower cars, of course, have to facilitate that. You know, so they basically just have to hold their line, as we have someone not quite holding their line, going a little bit aggressive. That was, I think, the brewing from... Yeah, that might have been some of that arrow that they had earlier.
Yeah, and then he got very lucky to not get hit right here by Kesby as Kesby came by. Look at that. Look at that. Kesby just confidently running through the line. I don't know that Kesby knows he almost got hit as they go through and around. But De Bruin with the jump start early on, now dropping into P7 overall and P7 in class. Look at Dahlgren again getting wiggly on the brakes, trying to get past Herlock. I thought we'd have somebody kind of jump up front, sail off into the sunset, and literally and figuratively sail off into the sunset with the leading hypercar. And the drivers are proving me wrong yet again, as they do week in and week out, with how I think these races are going to go, as they are making this top three battle in hypercars, separated by just over a second for three cars. And here's what we talked about traffic here, Nico. Catching a GT3 into that hairpin turn 10, that is probably the worst place I would think you could catch a car.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really not optimal at all, but you can just also see, you know, this ebb and flow in between the cars constantly. You know, you saw how Dahlgren and Herlock had this moment of clearance from Kesby, and then as soon as they reach turn 10, you know, into the hairpin, there's this car there, they can't go any further forward, and Kesby is right on the diffuser of Dahlgren, right looking pretty much through the rear wing to see what's going on ahead of him. And now all three of them are once again pretty much in a group within a second. And yeah, if you know, this is my big wish as a commentator and as a sportsman, of course, you know, we don't want to crash here. We want to see this battle like this for the rest of these 2 hours. And yeah, sometimes that wish is granted, and sometimes the pressure in any one of them, you know, whether it's lapped traffic or the people lapping, the pressure just gets a little bit too much. There's just one small mistake and everything can be over. So that's really the tightrope act for all of them involved.
Yeah, and that small mistake, you saw Dahlgren again, that rear end of that hypercar getting a little loose there. It's opened up a little bit of a gap between him and Herlock. Kesby right there on the back. They get around the Aston Martin there. Around the outside they go through turn 4, which is realistically the preferred passing line, as we've seen time and time and time again, and we'll continue to see through an hour and 45 minutes. But look at this, as they get through this GT3 traffic, that is one of our Mustangs on the track, and that is Johnny Good. Actually, no, that was not Johnny Gutierrez. Might have been Johnny Gutierrez. I might be wrong. We'll find out eventually here as they go through. And look at Herlock. Herlock very quickly trying to pick his way around these GT3s. He wants to get ahead before turn 11, because if he does, then that is going to give him a little bit of breathing room. He does. Dahlgren has to compromise his line a little bit. Kesby is going to stick just behind a bit more, and Kesby really losing out there, but you'll see that gap just close right back through as they go along. And these three, man, if they stay like this for an hour and 44 minutes, it's going to be a long race for them. It's going to be a very, very tired race winner that we'll talk to in the end. We'll get a replay coming up here. Race start one more time. This is really one of the things that I'm interested in. We could break this down all day. Casby jumped. How either of those cars are still running is beyond.
Yeah, I feel like that was a little bit too trigger happy on the Ferrari side, but De Bruyne basically just, well, completely misjudged it. And speaking of misjudgments, there's just a bit too much pushing there. That's what I was worried about. You can see the car still sliding there. Those rear tires are not looking very happy at all on either of those hypercars. That's Dahlgren now also behind Caspi.
And that is, they're running mediums. The thing that I found interesting is they're running mediums. I really expected the hypercars here to start the race to be on hard tires. I didn't think mediums would be the preferred tire. We'll see if there's any tire switches during the first pit stops as they go through. But Casby through on Dahlgren, Herlock up in the lead, and both just kind of sympathy slid for each other and managed to go through. Another replay here. This is going to be GT3s coming through. That is one of Bice relatives. That is Matthew Bice, and you can see the hypercars having just about zero patience trying to get through these GT3s.
Yeah, it's that difficulty, you know. These guys obviously, when you're driving in a GT3 car, those things are not slow. They are basically, you know, as heavy as a compact nowadays, have around over 500 horsepower and quite decent downforce already, but compared to a hypercar that's another 300 kilos lighter, twice the power, it's just, you know, Bruyne over here on the trying to find basically a gap anywhere. I think that is just pushing a little bit too much. They're obviously frustrated with his own mistake at the race start, and then of course the spin that we had in the very same corner a few laps ago. But yeah, that's the problem. You know, you have to find that rhythm there. You have to find your own speed and the way to match the speed of the cars around you when you can't quite go past them at that point.
Well, one of the things that we haven't really talked about is the idea of, you know, if you're De Bruyne, your race starts like that, and it's kind of just downhill. Wouter De Bruyne now down into 9th place overall as he drops back. It's one of those, like, can your day go from bad to worse? And then it kind of does, and you kind of just, it's very hard to reset into a rhythm here. We get another replay. This is, again, the Bices coming through with some GT3 on hypercar violence. Let's take it 3 wide through turn 12. Oh, 3 wide through turn 12. Let's take it 3 wide yet again. Oh! And that is what I like to call the, you shouldn't have done that. Who shouldn't have done what? Well, I'll leave that for everyone in YouTube chat to decide, because I don't want to say something and get in trouble.
And that's a difficult call there as well, you know, because of course, you know, you have 2 wide GTs in front of you, you're 2 wide with the hypercar behind. You try to make the next move, and you know, obviously you try to finish that move, get past, but you know, you have to watch your spatial awareness. That's actually something as well that happened this year, you know, with a huge accident at Spa. Basically, a person trying to go past one of the GTs, trying to move over to the side as quickly as possible to get past the hypercar in front, and just misjudging the overhang they have on the rear of the car, because those hypercars are incredibly long.
And as we go through, this is Robin Mullen going around hard on the brakes, and, well, the hypercar story of Bahrain. The back of the car becomes the front of the car, and the front of the car becomes the back. I do want to shout out Dan in the YouTube chat. And yes, I'm talking about Dan Kirby. Dan Kirby stuck at work, but has pointed out something in the chat about that race start. One, the fact that Wouter de Bruyne's car is even still running is a miracle in and of itself. Second, the rules are that you can only accelerate when you cross the start line. However, Bahrain has 2 start lines. One of them is a timing line. One of them is the actual painted start line. So we're wondering if there's a little bit of argy-bargy to go with that.
Yeah, I think that might have been a little bit of misjudgment then from drivers, or interpreting the briefing a bit differently, so to say.
spin there from Adam Gray, cutting a little bit through the gravel, but not pulling a Lance Stroll, and getting Beach able to get that hypercar back out and running here. Robert Strachan in the GT3s, continuing along and continuing to push through there, trying to find his way around where he can. And Craig Pullen is apparently having a little bit of a turn one moment here, and I have a feeling that we might as well just set up a stationary camera at turn one, because we'll see. Oh, that's just a misjudge your braking point, I believe. Paul in our ear has just pointed out there's still debris from the start of the race on the track. Do you think that's affecting any of our drivers at all?
I wouldn't say so necessarily. Obviously, you can also... Well, it depends on how you decide to make your mod. In this replay, we can have a quick look at where the debris is. Yeah, there's still that front flick from the Peugeot, I think. I think the main thing that's basically done... I don't think anyone's been on that part yet, as we have... well, another little showcase there at turn one. A little bit unlucky there, of course. And yeah, but I think there's no problem there overall. Like it's far enough on the inside. You know, the straight is pretty much wide enough to go 5 wide. So I think, you know, there's plenty of space to drive around there.
Craig Pullen early into the pits here in terms of the other hypercars, but being told that he has a penalty for something. Not sure what, but we'll find out for you as we go here. Maybe Mr. Reese in YouTube chat can be our little behind-the-scenes investigator and give us an idea, as always does. And now we've got Jamie Zalecki into the pits as well. So we're starting to see some cars in. I do see, as I mentioned earlier, Benjamin Porteous Heath and the Toyota on the hard tires on the front axle and the mediums on the rear axle, with Goncalves on the hard tires all the way around. I'm curious to see, after our first pit stops, if the hypercars decide to do anything different here. And we check in with our old resident Becky Ely here, a driver that is very familiar here in VWSC, both modern and historic. We've seen Becky Ely take some wins in historic this season. Becky Ely's been in the commentary booth once. And Nico right now, Becky Ely running a very, very solid P6, 22 seconds off of the lead, but still nice and solid, has a couple of cars for company behind.
Absolutely, very engaged driver, of course. She's also actually, I think, looking into modding as well at the moment. So yeah, very engaged in more than just one area. And well, as Ross said earlier, you know, you have to really know your way around R-Factor 2. So it's really great to see, you know, more and more people actually go into the modding side here. Since, you know, quite honestly, it's been around for long enough. I think the main thing is that there's just such a high complexity. A lot of people are intimidated before they actually touch it. So it's good to see more people enthusiastic about picking it up and starting to make some changes.
And for those of you asking how long R-Factor 2 has been around, because I just thought to myself, it hasn't been around that long, has it?
12 years.
Yeah, it came out March 28th, 2013. So...
Oh, 11 years, okay.
Do with that information what you wish. But almost 12 years now, yes. So, yeah, it's been around for a while. It is good to see people getting into it and getting into the modding scene. I always will say that the modding scene is what breathes new life into games. I think one of the best games, and I'm going to get flack for this, but one of the best games to support modding is the Farming Simulator series, because modding is just natively supported by the game. And if you pre-order the game, they have a modding handbook that explains how to build mods for their game, and it just gives you everything you need to build whatever type of mods you want. And then you kind of just gives you a rough point, you explore from there. So I wish more games did that style of modding support.
Even then, it's still quite complex, though. I mean, I'm learning that on the receiving end as well, because I'm trying to learn some more stuff. But, yeah, very complex, but boy, is it rewarding when you actually do manage to make a change, and that is the change that you want to see. But we're also having more and more people in the pit lane right now, as we had our quick detour. That is a replay from the 81. A bit of a spin. and that could have been cold tires, so that he apparently just came out of the pits. Now Becchielli in the pit lane as well, so a lot of people running into the pit lane, trying to get that first pit stop out of the way.
Yeah, Timon Subic still in the lead here, it appears. The only hypercar currently that hasn't pit that I can tell is they continue around here for their race. I do want to point out, if you're looking at YouTube chat, our wonderful resident Nightbot is dropping a Just Giving link quite often in the chat, and I'm sure someone's asking, hey, what's up with this random link that's dropping through as we watch Robert Strachan continue to lead. That link is because we are also, in combination of doing this, if you check out our channel right now here at JP Broadcasting, they are streaming the Race for Mental Health charity stream for Jimmy Broadbent, and that is going on 23-hour stream, and so that is a residual of that. So if you see that spamming in the chat, that is what that is. So if you're interested in that, of course, again, that's going on for 24 hours. So after VWSC, jump over and check that out as we continue along here. Robert Strachan just continuing to be nice and comfortable in that Acura in the lead of the GT3s, with Eduardo Bonica half a second behind in that Aston Martin. I really thought an Aston Martin would run away with the GT3 lead, but that Acura with Strachan behind the wheel has been very, very solid.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for the Aston being the OP untouchable car, Strachan is definitely putting a very good fight in there. But Beninka is all over the back of him, now moves down the inside. Strachan might be able, yeah, he is able to stay around on the inside, but there we are, Beninka makes a bit of short process with that through the remainder of 12 and 13, and decisively goes ahead. Now it's up to Strachan to try and basically use the next two big straights, or what remains of this one, and then after turn 14 and 15, the big front straight to make his way to the front again.
It's going to be interesting to see how this battle goes all the way down this main straight. Slipstream for days. There's a hypercar in the background. I see carbon fiber flying in the background, and I worry that the hypercar in the background was indeed Becky Ely, just based on the little bit I can see. Robert Strachan there, not able to get the pass done down the main straight, but is holding half a second back from Eduardo Bonica very early on the brakes there, trying to just play it safe, make sure no harm, no foul as they go around here. Angelitas now into the lead ahead of Mayor Monet, and we'll see what Angelitas can do to hold on to the lead. The GT3s here, just, again, it's very close battles everywhere you look right now. I haven't seen anyone really kind of stomp their foot on this Bahrain circuit and say, you know what, I'm the best at this track. And granted, Bahrain, I don't feel like Bahrain is a complicated track to learn, Nico. You may disagree with that. Someone may disagree with that. I don't feel like it's a complicated track to learn, but I feel like it's a track that can be very hard to be consistent on, if that makes sense. It's very hard to get super fast, consistent lap times out of it, but it's not hard to get consistent good lap times.
I think the thing is, you basically learn the basis of the track. So, you learn the basic racing line, as we have a bit of a spin there. I think that was bottomed out as well on the outside curb. Luckily, without traffic going that way in that moment. But especially one of those sections, you are doing hard braking through turn 9 into turn 10. Then, these longer runs here from turn 13, for example. And then, for example, turn 14, where it goes so weirdly narrow and then opens up again, where it's normally just one corner, and it's sort of making it with two apexes, just getting these smaller nuances down and actually being able to, fully master the car around, finding that final bit of speed, that's the difficult part. And, that is one of the sort of Rashidi's taking, the 2021 Lewis Hamilton approach to the racing line. And that was Herlock, in fact. He's fine then. But the stewards will still look at that.
This is Dahlgren that's going to spin here, and I mean, right on the back of Kesby, and just completely locks up, and then just has to get back going. That's again going into that turn 9, 10 complex. And it's, again, this is a track that's easy to learn, hard to master. And I mean, I will tell you from my many days of experience in any sort of racing setup, that braking into turn 9, turn 10 is easily the most difficult on the track, because it's downhill, left-hand braking, where you have to swing it wide and then cut it deep, and then you have to watch locking the tires, and you have to mind the curbs, as always, because when do we not have to mind the curbs in racing, let's be honest. And it can all very quickly culminate into an absolute mess if you're not just on the ball every time. David Johnson to P3. That's a good little note there, because he's not that far off of JT Tammy, and David Junt just continuing to pull time up here. Nico, what do we think for David Junt today? Where do we think David Junt is going to finish here? Because he needs to finish ahead of JT Tammy if he wants to get his championship secured, I believe. I'm not doing the math off the top of my head for where the points are at right now, but I will just say that as it stands, David Junt really would prefer to finish ahead of JT Tammy.
Yeah, absolutely. Strachan just went to the pits as well. The next car is heading to the pits behind them as well. That should be Holden. But either way, Junt obviously on the back foot has to try and attack as much as possible until the race ends, and it's going to be difficult, gaining essentially from a 6th place deficit there, 3 rows behind. It's not so easy when you're in sports cars, and especially with the traffic, it gives and takes away. Right now he's in P2, but of course that's because the pits phase for the GTs has also just started, so it's difficult to call where he is without the pit stops right now, and well, it's difficult to call where he will be when he actually does his pit stop, because right now in the middle of the worst section, this entire middle sector of the track, where it gets so tight, all these hypercars are coming up the lap here.
And as the hypercars come through the lap, the GT3s are starting pit stop cycles now. Hypercars have been through, and now GT3s will start their way through. The Mistral Porsche 963s all in a row here, and just very politely going to get their way around as they can. You can see no argy-bargy there, just a hard dive on the brakes up the inside. A little bit of a lock up there, but making the way through. John Mayer now going to try to work around the outside to the inside. He's just getting through. Holden has just picked up a penalty as he leaves the pits. Alan Holden in the GT3. We saw a replay of Alan Holden earlier, going for a little bit of a loop-to-loop, and that is going to make a bad day a little bit worse for him, but doesn't necessarily make things horrible. One of the things I do want to point out, JT Tammy said, "I'll be thrilled with a top 5 finish today. Quali was surprising." So that tells you where the thoughts are there today. Let's see, as we go down the straight here, Mayer holding on to that outside line as we continue along. Hard on the brakes will go Chin. Chin looking for a pass if possible, not able to get that through, and they will continue along as they go. Tic-tac-toe, it's the Blumen group, says YouTube chat. I love that.
Yeah, could definitely say so.
Today is just the day of puns, and I love it.
Yeah, I mean, earlier on the Zolder charity race stream, they had dad jokes going on, so, it's always going to escalate into something there. But, without puns and all that stuff, we have Mr. Kesby right all over the back of Dan Herlock now, within slipstream range. And not quite making the progress that he'd want to see, but quite close nonetheless. Dahlgren is also 2 seconds back after that spin earlier, so having recovered decently well from that. And I think, slowly the tires should be in the operating window where they would want them.
Yeah, they should be getting things figured out here. Becky Ely with a dive on the inside of Wouter de Bruin there on the bottom right-hand side of your screen as they come out of the corner and go through. Your leaders now heading through the complex of turns 7, 8, 9, 10. They're into the middle sector as they go. And we continue along, though, because right now, Becky Ely really trying to put some pressure on Vuder de Bruin there down the main straight. Is within a little bit of slipstream distance here. Can Becky Ely get a pass done, though? And, well, not into turn one, at least, as Becky Ely's a little further back. But, man, deep on the brakes goes Becky Ely and is able to close a bit of a gap there to De Bruin. This is the battle for P8 as they go.
Yeah, battle for P8 is still all over there. Well, P9 here right now with the back, almost running into the back of the non-existent rear wing of that Peugeot. Now catching the Mustang once again in that squirrely section. I swear, this is the section where every single time we're in a fight there, that is a quick... I think they just had some little server troubles. Oh. And some more big server troubles.
That is, yeah, that is catastrophic server troubles is what that is. My timing screen is showing DNFs for everybody now. We'll see if we can get a little bit of an update on what exactly has happened there, but it does look like something has happened at this time. We're 35 minutes, or 37 minutes in, there we go, into this race, and it looks like right now, it's a season finale, so you know, here in VWSC, both modern and historic, we've had some action happen all the way up and down and sideways around the field. We've had some crazy things happen. We've seen game glitches cut laps out of races. We've seen a random pop in the tarmac flip cars over, and it looks like today is the day of well, for me, the purple banners. I do still see John Ulian on track. I see Becky Ely on track. I see John Mayer on track. JT Tammy, David Junt, Gilles Lalonde, Mike Bice, Ross Smith is on track. So it does look like my timing screen does still show. However, it looks like a majority of our drivers in one of our broadcasts have kicked off, and then we have something still there. So we'll work to see if we can get some update here shortly. But yeah, that's I mean, Nico, this is the equivalent of a rain stoppage, essentially, is what I'm going to call it.
I mean, for Bahrain, you know, maybe the Sheiks did an illegal flyover with one of those A320s or A330s again, and everyone was so shocked that the race had to be red flagged. But yeah, it's definitely a weird situation. I mean, with the server, we're dropping a majority of the people, but not all of them yet. You know, it's one of those situations where well, we have to find a quick solution, and yeah, there's some questions asked by the drivers, you know, restarting the game. Daniel Kirby asking for a red flag. So far, no news, I think. But yeah, these guys... Yeah, this is one of these panic moments. You know, this is something that an admin never wants to see.
Yeah, so little bit of a run there from... So Dan Kirby has said, yeah, server's down. Paul's confirmed in our ear that the server has now proceeded to give him the boots and say, go away. Mr. Reese in chat says that 8 of 36 cars were on track and time for a serious bathroom break. So yeah, I would definitely recommend, you know what, ladies and gentlemen, this might be a good time if you're thirsty, if you're hungry. Well, maybe not if you're hungry. I don't know how long this is going to take. If you're thirsty, it's a good time to grab a bottle of water, kind of hang out. Give it a second here. So it does look like we're waiting on official word from admin. As it stood, we were 37 minutes into the race at the time of the... Well, I don't know. Nico, what do you want to call that? The technical moment as it went?
I mean, it's not the weirdest part. Like, I'd say this is pretty much the equivalent of them having to stop the race a few years back, and this is where I get, you know, my racing history knowledge out again. I'd say this is relatively similar to stopping the race for issues with the race circuit, like Belle Isle in IndyCar in the early 2000s, where it was so hot that parts of the track surface started to come up, and James Hinchcliffe basically had his car lifted up by one of the coming up parts of tarmac, go into the wall, and then with a lot of expletives, complaining about why they didn't stop the race earlier.
Yeah, and that's a clip that if you haven't seen, I would check that out. Ross Smith has put in the official chat for Discord an hour 26 and a formation. And Robert Strachan said, "What's going to happen with the grid?" And Ross said, "Go wherever you want." With Dan Kirby asking if he can join if he makes it home before the restart, and Robert Strachan very wisely saying, yes, because that is why the server crashed. So we do, again, Dan Kirby wanting to have a bit of a celebratory run, and that is why it goes. I don't know if he should be allowed to join. I appreciate the sentiment, though, and I really hope he's not why the server crashed. Of course, all in good fun there. Dan, I know you're not why the server crashed.
Just quickly DDoSing the server to make it to the race before the red flag restarts.
I mean,
the
I've
next
heard of
level
crazier
engagement.
things happen. I you know, can can you imagine in Formula One if well, actually no, we've seen this try to happen. We've seen this try to happen. We've seen Red Bull. They tried to put Perez back out in a race after it was red flagged. After they withdrew Perez's car, and then they randomly tried to put him back in.
No!
We've seen
Oh
that.
no!
Happen.
Like Sergio Perez, like last year at Japan, he crashed out, retired, and rejoined the race like 3 times, I think.
Yeah.
Then
I remember that.
But for example, I think with Mr. Kirby, I think the situation would be the most similar to how would you say it? I'd say the situation would be most similar to Juan Pablo Montoya's car breaking down at the start of the Grand Prix. Then they had a start crash after his car was wheeled away, so he ran to the replacement car. The start was red flagged. He ran to the replacement car, took the restart, but he wasn't allowed to use the T car, so he was disqualified after that anyway.
I'm glad you all are reminding me of the F1 history, because I forget the weird things that happen sometimes because weird things. I don't know. Still working on getting the server back up, everyone. Stick with us. We were an hour 26 to go in this race, is the official notice from Ross Smith. So we are just waiting on things to get set back up and for things to get going. So if you're just joining us, we didn't just start. We, of course, did, the first, what would that be, 34 minutes of racing, and everybody had gone through at least one pit stop. So when you think about it, everyone had gone through one pit stop, 34 minutes of racing. Essentially, if you just set things back up how they were, everyone should be right where we stopped.
I think a couple of people were just in the pit lane, though, so that could make it a bit difficult there as well with the order. But,
And the question from Paul...
Ross Smith replies, "That's great."
Yeah, I'll leave that one in the Discord. If you're curious, of course, join the VWSC Discord, and you can check out the league discussion for Ross's official answer to how we will set the grid. But once I know the grid, we will discuss the grid, because I'm sure it's going to be an interesting grid. How it sets up, we'll see how they sort that one out, because it's not going to be... I'm sure someone's going to be unhappy with it, but at the end of the day, I mean, this is one of those... what do you do sort of things. I don't have a good answer for how you handle this situation.
Yeah, it's in the middle of the pit cycle, of course, as well. It's really, really difficult. Right now, they're basically pulling the snapshot right before the freeze happened. So they can basically resort the grid again. Having had the same thing in my own league last weekend, basically like having to disconnect for the broadcaster and for a couple of drivers basically on session change. We have to restart the weekend for the last moment and then redo the grid. It's a lot of pressure. So, we're lucky that Ross Smith has nerves of steel.
If anyone is the one to deal with this pressure, it is Ross. I do want to point out Dan Harlock also said, autopilot missed my pit speed limit button on the start line is why I was so slow to go. And then, of course, the other fun thing is you've now noticed, Nico, is with red flag rules, and I'm sure that they're going to let this, slide for how this would actually work. This is the good time for everyone to make those setup tweaks that you wouldn't normally get. This is the time where if you're not happy with how your car just ran for 30 minutes, go ahead and tweak it. And if I'm a hypercar, I'm taking all the downforce out and I'm taking all the straight line speed I can get.
Just take all of the downforce out. You were happy with the handling. Yeah, no, drop the wing. Completely different balance. But yeah, like for fine tuning and stuff, definitely. However, that can also go, completely the opposite of how you'd actually want it. So it's a balancing act there as well. Robert Strack can also say, time to make setup changes. Time to remove 3 stages of rear wing and see how fast this car can go through corners now. It can go faster, but on its roof, upside down.
I mean, at least you would have a speed record, right? I don't know. It's
A record
this
is
is
a
one of
record.
those very, very hard to figure out moments. But the man with the brain of steel and the nerves of steel and the ability to put all this together is Ross
steel.
Smith. Ross Smith, welcome back to the booth.
I don't know about all that, but hi.
I mean, we were just complimenting you a minute ago, Ross. Come on. Don't just play into it for a minute. Server crash.
It happens. It's pretty rare, but unfortunately it struck today. So everybody's just getting back in, and we'll basically pick up where we left off, more or less. George is kind of sorting out where people are. He's getting some good feedback, and everybody hear me still?
Yeah,
Yep.
we can hear you.
Sorry, I thought I heard somebody leave. Anyway, so that's where we're at right now. We're just trying to get whoever was supposed to be on the server back on, and we'll pick it up from there.
Yeah, about how long do you think this process is going to take?
It should only be a couple more minutes. It looks like almost everybody's back in. We're just trying to sort out who's missing for whatever reason. And if there's anybody who's just kind of a straggler, just getting them in, and then we should be on our way.
Awesome. And then formation lap. I think I saw you say there'd be a formation lap.
Yeah, we'll just get everybody formed up and come back around. You'd like to do like a virtual safety car or something, but nobody remembers really what the pacing gapping was anywhere. So this just kind of equalizes things. It's going to bring a lot of people back in. I certainly will treat it like a red flag situation and inherit some of that bonus there after my spin. So I'm not complaining.
Yeah,
I'm sure you did.
Yeah, the spin was interesting. Also, I do like the fun little paint scheme on your car. So I have to say, very, very good choice.
Thank you. George also appreciates it. He definitely enjoys pink cars when they're extra shiny.
That they are. I guess one final question here is the server, it looks like, is getting ready to get set up. Will everyone start in class order, or are you going to leave them mixed how they were?
It's a good question. I think it's just going to be kind of like a standard start in that sense, where it's going to just push the classes together. So you get the categories where they're supposed to be. But yeah, it just makes sense because otherwise you'd kind of have a lot of chaos at the start. We already saw, I'm sure you guys saw, that there was a bit of confusion by a couple drivers that created a little bit of a situation. But I don't think we're going to have that same problem this time. Everybody's just kind of doing their pit box check real quick right now, and this should kick off just fine. I think we're going to be in a good spot. A lot of people had kind of just done some pit stops, so I don't think that there's going to be too much that's disrupted in some of that. Although I know a couple guys are saying that they're on for their fuel strat, and this is obviously going to change things a little bit for them. But everybody's dealing with the same issue, so it's not like anybody can really jump out and say like, this hurt me more or less. It's everybody's in the same boat, and yeah, there you go.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see how this plays out, Ross. For everyone going through, and yeah, the race start. We've dissected that a bit. I'm sure the stewards are gonna look at it post race. So I won't say too much about it, but I'm sure you all plan on looking at that later.
Yeah. Yeah, so interesting little bit there. I'm not sure if anything was discussed with it, but I know that there were some submissions for IRRs going in from Road Atlanta that did not make it in before the beginning of this race. So I don't know how that's going to come into play for affecting championship results, but it's something for, I guess, drivers to keep in the back of their minds. I don't think it's going to affect anything as it sits right now in any major way, but maybe it will a little bit. We'll have to see.
We'll see how that goes. I wouldn't think that would be anything major, but then again, you never really know. So we'll keep that in mind as we go here. Warm-up session is back underway. As you said, Ross, everybody doing their box checks and should be going momentarily. You sound pretty happy about the red flag situation just in terms of your place, but I'm sure in all other aspects, this is not exactly a thrilling moment for you today.
No, I mean, most of that was the car just didn't break. And then when I tried to recover it, apparently we didn't have any traction control enabled. So that was something that came from my teammate sending me his updated setup without mentioning that little thing. So yeah, I think it should be better now. So we'll just have to see. Obviously, the car is just kind of speaking for what's going on here. The car is probably a bit heavier than it needs to be, and we're really struggling against that. You're going to see a lot of the NSXs doing that. Robert and David are able to make the most of their cars. Jamie and I are struggling a little bit. We just really have not had a lot of time being in here, so we're kind of just puttering around and picking up what we can.
Yeah, Ross, we're gonna kick you out here because we're getting into the race. So I'm gonna send you back up, and again, we might talk to you later. We'll see how things go.
Unlikely, but we'll see.
Good luck, Ross. We'll see you on track.
Thanks.
All right. Well, Nico, as we get things ready to go again here, Mr. Reese in YouTube chat says, I hope they get the order right because not everyone DC'd at the same time. They are taking the race start before the DC here, so we are going to be up and going and ready to party in just a moment.
It's obviously, difficult one to get. I think these guys might have, they probably have the right timestamp. But of course, there's going to be some winners and losers, as we had in our ear from Paul Glover. Maybe, slightly wrong position, but one thing that is definitely going to be different than before is the gaps between the cars. A lot of cars actually losing a lot of the gaps between them. And we're going to switch back to the live feeds. Everyone gets going again. And for example, here, in the middle of the first pit phase, and I think that is definitely a new leader.
Yeah, and as we go through, let's run down the grid super fast here. John Uyen, Dan Herlock, Ben Kesby, Magnus Dahlgren, first, second, third, fourth. It's rare we get two grids in one race here. From there, we're going fifth place. That is going to be Micah Locke and Timon Suvic in sixth. Robin Moling in seventh. George Angelides will be leading Hypercar AM. That is a big one to keep your mind on. So, Wouter de Bruin in ninth, Eric Monet in 10th, Jerry Chittum P11, John Mayer in 12th. From there, we're going P13. And that is going to be Goncalves. And then from there, it's Alexander Ceramia. And then from there, Benjamin Porteous Heath. And then Luke Goodlife, P15 and P16, respectively. 17th place will be Adam Gray. P18 will be JT Tammy, your GT3 leader. Robert Strachan David Junt in 19th with Gilles Lalonde in P20. From there, we're going Mike Bice, Ross Smith, Robert Strachan, Eduardo Benica, 21st, 22nd, 23rd, and 24th. Again, Ross Smith started P31, if I'm remembering right, up at the 22nd. Vasilis Kataranakis in 25th, Johnny Gutierrez in 26th, Jamie Zalecki in 27th, James Walker in 28th. And then just a few more cars here to round out our list. Alan Holden, Adrian Rice, Stephen Miller, Matthew Bice. And then we should have 2 more cars to round things out for the day here. And it is going to be Stuart Barge and Stephen Bice. The 34 cars. We had more cars than that before. We had 36, I believe. And now we're down to 34. Looks like a couple of people not taking to the server restart as they go. We're now pacing down the backstretch here out of turn number 10. And we're going to pace nice and slow around here. Is everyone going to get the start right this time? It's rare we get to see this happen.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a second chance now. Hopefully not a second chance at a start crash. But, yeah, I think they probably took the chance as well to, communicate with everyone, hey, this start line is meant, not the other one. And, yeah, I'm pretty sure, like, everyone here will be able to get running smoothly this time.
I would think that they would communicate all that through, and John Huyen has dropped back into P7 here. Dan Herlock's bringing us around. Robert Strachan's bringing us around. And we didn't talk about this the first race start, so it feels appropriate to talk about it the second race start. The orange zone is all the way through turn 10. So the orange zone just means be super careful to pass on that first race lap. If you cause an incident, it's going to be judged more harshly by the stewards than it would normally. It means be safe here. So, and GT3s have left a lot of gap to Hypercar this time here as Dan Herlock's coming around and is going to be leading Ben Kesby and Magnus Dahlgren through, and we will go through. It's going to be about an hour and 22 minutes on the clock as they cross that line. GT3's coming through 14 and 15 in the bottom right of your screen. They are again led by Eduardo Bonica, followed by JT Tammy and the Robert Strachan and Eduardo Bonica and JT Tammy. So Acura, Aston Martin. We'll see how they go, but we're back underway here for this run after our brief red flag period. Dan Herlock in the lead there. See very quickly Ben Kesby thinking about that dive to the inside of turn 1 early on, and now the GT3s will run their way through with Robert Strachan in the lead and will get his way around very quickly. Dan Herlock feeling pressure up in the front by Ben Kesby. Ben Kesby looking again for a pass into turn 4, not able to make it stick. Everyone single file early on. GT3s now diving into turn 1, and they make their way through there. Robert Strachan ahead of Eduardo Bonica, pulling a little bit of a gap. This is a lot cleaner than the first time though, Nico.
Absolutely. Also, one thing that I noticed as well, Dan Herlock, maybe he's not pushing 100% yet, but the car also seems to be a little bit more settled on the brakes, so maybe he also used that moment of, rest, so to say, rest and respite. Nope, never mind, there's a bit more livelihood. I thought for a moment he had adjusted it a little bit to the front and, basically just, get the car a bit more stable. Give the rear tires a little bit more rest, but no, there was a nice little slide there as if he's charging up his drift meter in Underground 2.
Yeah, and that is, we're not claiming that commentator's curse, we're just claiming that very good timing to point that out. Look at the time here for Big Kesby up the inside of Herlock. Herlock and Kesby side by side as they go. They're going to run down this back third straight thing here into 14 and 15. And let's just go ahead and throw Magnus Dahlgren in the mix too. Magnus looking for a move. Oh, Herlock again. That car swirling on the brakes, on cold brakes, cold tires. Not having a good time, but now down the main straight, Kesby will have a run here on Herlock. A lot more slipstream to go this time. Magnus Dahlgren right on the back there. We're on board with Magnus Dahlgren in the bottom right, side by side with Kesby. Squeeze them all the way to the pit lane. And now hard on the brakes they go. 3 wide. They go through and ding it, Herlock. So hard there, but Herlock retains the lead. An hour and 20 minutes to go.
Barely no contact there. Absolutely insane there. Dahlgren losing quite a bit of time there. Loeb right behind that, Zubik right behind that, Merling right behind that. So everyone still has the chance to be in there. And Kesby seems to be a lot more keen this time to be involved in that lead battle.
Yeah, Kesby very much taking this reset as the moment for him to try to gun for a win here. He thinks he's in the run for a win. Kesby really putting the pressure through. Kesby wants this lead. And Kesby wants to see if he can hold on to it for a little bit. With an hour and 20 minutes to go here, we continue along. We ride on board on that bottom right-hand corner, with Magnus Dahlgren as Magnus Dahlgren sits back. Best seat in the house to watch this battle continue. Kesby yet again trying to have that run on Dan Herlock. Dan Herlock trying to hold on to the lead here up in the front. Back in the background in GT3, it is 0.2 of a second separating Strachan and Benica. Those two are very, very close, holding on to their positions. Again, you have them down in the bottom right now as they continue through that turn 7-8 complex down into turn 9 and turn 10. Hard on the brakes they go as they continue along. And again, we're gonna have to deal with lap traffic yet again for the first time here very shortly.
Absolutely, and we've got some movement as well in the GT cars. Benica apparently also quite on a move. Strachan still holding on to the lead in the NSX as we have the lead battle for the Hypercars once again moving towards turn 1. And Kesby makes the move on the brakes, but a bit too deep. Actually slides onto the off-track area. Alden goes past him and almost goes past Herlock as well, but has to pull out a little bit. Herlock still trying to get a little bit of temperature into his tires as we look into that for a replay. Oh no, actually, that is quickly for the GTs, and ooh, okay. A little bit of a power slide there, not quite as intended, but still able to hold on to the back of Robert Strachan there.
Yeah, Dahlgren has gotten around Kesby here up in the front. Herlock in the lead. Kesby's going to very quickly fight back. Eduardo Benica putting in a best time there for the GT3s with a 1:57.7 as we've gotten going here again, and we continue along following this battle. Herlock is, I honestly think he's doing that on purpose at this point, sliding that car through turn 10. I really think he might be doing that on purpose to get the car around, because that is the second time we've seen him do that through turn 10.
Yeah, I think he's basically just trying to get, well, you know, pretty much as far away from them as quickly as possible. And well, the difficulty, of course, there is we have, another kind of getting away. So that's Alecki going off the track there, getting caught out a little bit by that unusual nature of the last corner. I think Herlock is pushing quite hard to just try and get away from Dahlgren and Kesby there, but just can't quite get it done, you know. And the big problem there is now, you know, if he can't get away, even though he's pushing this hard, well, yeah, he's going to be stuck there with the barely overheated rear tires.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very rough for Herlock to try to continue this on. We see him yet again holding off Dahlgren and Kesby dropping a little bit more. This is going to be another replay. This is Steven Bice, and Steven Bice just kicking the rear end of the car out there. Just that Corvette not wanting to come around the way he wanted it to, and it kind of just said, you know what, adios. But that is the nature of that C8 Corvette. Sometimes the rear end just doesn't want to plant the way you would expect it to. We jump back here live for this round 13, this finale of the Virtual World Sports Car Championship, back underway after a brief, I'm going to call it a red flag period for reasons. Oh, contact between Dahlgren and Kesby in the background. They are not done here. Kesby very much wanting to get past Dahlgren again. Back into second place. He says, I know you passed me, but I think I'm the faster corner. He almost cut that chicane. I'd have to see a replay to tell if he did or didn't, but he's definitely pushing that car hard and trying to make his move through. And now Dahlgren, instead of being on the attack on Herlock, he's on the defense from Kesby. And this is a big switch of things.
It's a quick respite there. Kesby has a bit of a slide there. I think this is the replay again into turn 1. Yeah, that's the rear end just stepping out. Dahlgren also hard on the brakes there, and it looks like, I think, just barely, well, just a slight little bit of contact happening with those two there. But either way, quite a hot situation. Yeah, that is one of those sections where I'd say, you know, it goes from incredibly wide here at Bahrain to so narrow, where it's basically just a one-lane circuit.
You can kind of compare it to turn 1 at Coda, honestly, which of course is also a Tilke track. It's a very, very wide, stark turn 1 that opens up a lot, but then closes at the exit, and you have to be very, very careful. There's like 8 lines to go in, but only 1 line to come out, so You tend to see drivers, pick what line they want to go in, see if they can make a defense, make an attack using that. But in the end, it all ends up single file on the exit of turn 1 as they go through here. Again, we get another replay coming up here. Man, Paul's being kept busy here. This is the Kesby Dahlgren moment as they went into the turn. And I tell you what, barely keeping a wheel on the curb, and the question for me is, are they judging it by the white line, or are they judging it by the curbs there on the inside? Because if it's the curbs, he's a lucky duck there, Ben Kesby is. If it's the white line, well then that's a slam dunk 5-second penalty.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, like, he didn't really profit too much from that because he lost too much momentum on that short around. So really rough there. You've also got some news about Ross being caught up. So
what has Ross Smith gotten himself into?
Yeah.
One of the things that we didn't talk about here is we have, again, Dahlgren looking for a move there with Herlock. Let's get the replay real quick. This is Mr. Ross Smith. What has Ross Smith done? Well, I'll answer what Ross Smith has done. Did he lock the brakes up, or was he trying to let someone... That is...
Yeah, I think
that was
like a slight bit of overstay. He did say beforehand he didn't quite get along with the setup too much, as it was made by the pro NSX driver Robert Strachan, but a bit on the more unstable side. So losing the corner. Oh, actually, it's a Lecky. Okay. But yeah, either way, unstable setup, spins it halfway around, and yeah, unfortunately, just not quite able to do a proper run there.
And Kesby just passing Dahlgren there on your screen to get up into second place, and now we continue along. And my question at this point for Kesby is, can Kesby put pressure on Herlock? Herlock looks like an absolute stone wall at the moment. I don't know that he'll get anything done here. This is the overtake here, replayed. Hard on the brakes goes Kesby, and man, that was a deep run there. I think he might have gotten caught out by Herlock a little bit as they went through, but that puts Dahlgren into third, Kesby into second, Herlock into first, and well, there goes Ross Smith as they proceed to begin the lapping process for the second time today. Somebody was off in the background there, off the right-hand side. That was a weird place to see a car off the exit of 13. Zalecki DNFing. I wonder if Zalecki and Ross coming together as a cost Jamie Zalecki the race, potentially. That's an unfortunate one. If so, not ideally how you would see things happen, but of course it's motorsports. And one of the things that we didn't talk about here is we get the replay really quick of this is Dahlgren's moment getting passed by Kesby, and yeah, you can see Dahlgren really caught out there by Herlock. Herlock was deep on the brakes. So we'll see. We'll get one more angle of that here in just a moment. Try to tell if it was Herlock or Dahlgren. We'll see who it was that was messing up their braking points here. I have the feeling it was Dahlgren. Dahlgren not on the brakes till about the 60-meter mark. So very weird moment there. And then Kesby just kind of pretty as you please goes around. Nico, one of the things we haven't talked about, and I want your opinion on this because I've never been a part of this situation. But it is something that I'm curious to know if you have or what happens with it when you have those mid-race stoppages like this. And of course, we hear them talk about this in professional motorsports with red flags. That mental game, it can completely affect the mental game because you were in the zone, you were running, and then all of a sudden, you've got to basically restart from scratch and kind of get reset. And what is this?
Bit of a squirrely run there, but that is Dahlgren once again side by side and actually in the clear there. Yeah, Kesby's losing that because the GT is just in the way there. So that was just wrong place, wrong time. Traffic giveth, the traffic taketh away. And yeah, but what you were saying with the red flag, I think it really depends. Whew, that's a lot of sideways. It really depends on how difficult or how easy you have it to get back into that, mid-race mindset, pretty much. And for some people it's easier, for some it's worse. At the same time, that is actually the Mustang missing its braking and hitting Herlock in the back a little bit. And that is Dahlgren locking up on the back and holding Gatsby up a bit.
Wow, that was a moment I wasn't expecting, but it goes to show how traffic giveth, traffic taketh away. I love that phrase, and I'm stealing that later, just so you're aware. I will be using that later today as we go through. Look at the run there as we have, I mean, this is just a smorgasbord of cars on a silver platter, everybody running through. I mean, very close gaps all the way around. Angelides is even under pressure by Monet in the background. I mean, we're just not done with this. This is an hour. If I didn't show you the timer and I showed you how these drivers are racing, how long in this race would you tell me there was?
I'd say this would be like the last 15 minutes, honestly, with how much stuff is going on track right now, but it's still an hour, 10 minutes to go pretty much. These guys are defending positions, obviously they're not willing to give up, and usually a lot of people obviously go, okay, we can basically just keep the fighting until the last couple of minutes, but these guys are all over each other. None of them are holding back.
And here's the other thing with this too, with the red flag. We have the mental game, we have the reset, we have the setup changes and everything through. I mean, it's literally going to be a case of, at this point, even fuel strategy is out the window. We always talk early on about, you're driving to a fuel strategy, you're driving to a lap number, you're driving to a time, you're driving to a delta. At this point, the fuel strategy is out the window. Who knows? If you had something set up, you're not following that. You're kind of just winging this race as it goes. And I will tell you, when drivers get to the point that they don't have strategy, chaining them down, they tend to just unleash the shackles and go. And that is, I think, exactly what we're seeing here.
This actually brings to a point as well. We basically were in the middle of the GT3 pit window with 35 to 40 minutes pretty much in, and I think a couple of people could have run a little bit longer there. I am wondering if some GT3s, if they are realizing, okay, I'm not that much slower when I'm following this guy in front of me, maybe I can get another couple of laps out. Maybe I can either try to get around the final pit stop or try to get, down to just a very quick splash and dash.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really fun to watch how this race plays out now, because strategy's out the window, everything's out the window that we had. Mike Bice is in the pits, though, which I wasn't expecting here. Eduardo Bonica in the lead in GT3 ahead of Robert Strachan, with JT Tammy a few seconds behind. We've got hypercar leaders that are making their way through. Herlock snaking the way around the inside there of Strachan, followed very closely by Dahlgren, and Kesby just a little bit further behind. Monet now has the lead on Angelides and Hypercar Am, and I mean, these guys are just not pulling punches here in the lead for Hypercar. Look at this. They are just running through. And now hard on the brakes we go. Dahlgren trying to look up the inside of Herlock. Not able to get the pass done. Kesby, though, is able to get around Bonica there as they continue along. And now look at this. Herlock, Dahlgren, bumper to bumper. Where have we seen this before? Is Dahlgren going to try the inside, the outside? That's the million-dollar question of the day. And it looks like they are going to go side by side here into turn one. They ran each other all the way to the inside apex. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, these guys are, well, they're all over each other. I think now that they basically caught back up to the lead there, as we have it there on the camera, they're basically very, very keen to fight as much as possible, and this is very, very good for the next couple of people that we see moving their way past Beninka here right now. Billing, Subic, and Loke, because they're all quite close behind that. If they can basically overcome that 3-second gap that they have, they're all the way in there as well. Then we'd have a 6-way fight for the lead.
And this is getting insane for this race, and we aren't even at half distance officially yet as we continue through. Eduardo Bonica yet again with Strachan there on the back. There is another hypercar snaking the way through, and that is going to be, I believe, John Ullian, who is snaking through in that 111 hypercar as they go. Herlock, Kesby, Dahlgren, those three separated by less than a second there on the bottom side of your screen as they continue down the backstretch here, and they keep the run going now. That is Luder de Bruin going through as well as they continue along. Half a second separating this GT3 battle of Benica and Strachan. This is, I mean, I don't know what you do in this case. If you are the hypercar leaders or the GT3 leader, I mean, this is just say a prayer, throw it up, and just see what happens.
I'd rather just say the prayer and not throw up, but, you know, with the excitement in this situation, I wouldn't blame people who do throw up. But, yeah, Dahlgren and Casby still staying quite close behind those leaders. We're still also watching Strachan and Beninka here, really, really close behind each other and, you know, all over each other pretty much. Strachan slightly getting dropped, though, by Beninka, so that Aston rhythm slowly coming in there.
It's slowly going to be reeling things forward through here, and still plenty of time too. I think that's the other thing that, you know, has kind of been lost at this point. I usually talk about it all the time for endurance. You know, this is an endurance race. There's plenty of time to be found here, so you don't necessarily need to be pushing too hard. And I think at this point, they are going to start, you know, relaxing a little bit. At least Benica and Strachan are. I don't know about Herlock, Casby, Dahlgren. Those three probably won't calm down, right? Right? No, they'll. I think they'll relax a little bit, right? Right? Am I wrong? I'm sure YouTube chat's roasting me right now, saying I'm wrong, but we'll see what happens.
Commentator wrong. I disagree. Your opinion is wrong and void. But, you know, I don't really see them calming down either. So as soon as they're within striking range of each other, they'll just go straight at it again, I think. And that's just one of those things, you know, like these guys are not here to follow each other. They're here to race. And I think, you know, last race of the season, they're basically going, okay, well, what's the worst that could happen after this anyway?
Yeah, that's a very good point as we ride on board on the hood on the 360 cam in the bottom right with our second place driver trying to chase down Dan Herlock. Down the main straight is look for a move and dive to the right hand side hard on the brakes, and ooh, I thought he spun, but no, that is the 360 cam just giving us some action as he actually overshoots the braking point, and Magnus Dahlgren gets past there. So Ben Casby going from second to third with a little bit of a run and a bit of extra acceleration added into that as well. Dan Kirby in YouTube chat has clarified my question earlier about Casby's line infringement. Always the white line per the CMS rules. He didn't gain anything. It's just a track cut warning. So
yeah, that's what I would have said as well, because he lost the momentum over the bumpiness of the curb as well. Couldn't even get properly alongside, and he ran past. Well, he tried to get alongside, couldn't get alongside. So, you know, it's just the thing from the track cut system, and yeah, that's all it is, you know. Either way, though, the guys in front still fighting very hard. Casby just now with that attempt there to get past into turn one, but I think, yeah, he's writing checks his brakes can't cash to try and make a reference to Top Gun there. And yeah, Dahlgren was able to go past there, now sitting right behind Herlock again, and yeah, with all this battling, if I see that correctly, Mölling actually caught up as well quite a bit. Now only 2.5 seconds, 2.2, 2.3 seconds behind the lead car.
We'll continue this run here. Yellow flags out in Sector 2, so somebody has had a moment in our fun little tricky bit of the track as they continue their way along. This is big runs all the way through. Might have been Mayer and Goodlife. We'll see if we can get confirmation here shortly for what happened. And this is Kesby's. This is a replay here of that move we watched with the 360 cam that Kesby tried to make. You see he dives left hard. Well, he dives right, and then he's in and just couldn't get the car rotated through, wasn't slowed down enough to rotate. I think he could have made that stick, honestly. I think if he had slowed down a little bit more, I think he could have made that move stick as they went through.
Maybe a little bit earlier, but yeah, that's just one of those things, you know, you have slipstream, you're coming to the inside, you're offset from where you are usually, and just missing your braking is quite a bit easier there. We've got a bit of a replay, there was some contact here. That's the turn 9, turn 10 section again, and woo-hoo-hoo. Yeah,
Bomb.
that NSX. I thought for a moment that NSX would maybe spin off there as that bit of debris gets picked up by another NSX. But no, slightly missing a braking into turn 10, hitting that Porsche, and around the cat goes.
And it's unfortunate to see that happens, but that is the nature sometimes of that mixed class racing as we go through. Adrian Rice here in 9th place. Nice and comfortable looking in that number 56 Mustang, and pretty well holding on. Ben Kesby's ran off the track again up front. Herlock and Dahlgren separated by a 1/10 and a half as they go. And we'll see if we can cut to that battle and see how close they get here. With Ben Kesby a 1.5 seconds back as they go along here. And we continue on. We've now officially gotten under the 1 hour mark. George Angelides has gotten back in the lead of Hypercar AM, which is important for George Angelides trying to chase down that battle. And I will remind you that even though we're an hour in, we're technically only about 20 minutes in as we go. So you are going to start seeing pit stops. Dahlgren's in pits, Kesby's in the pits here, and Hypercar, Michael Locke is in the pits as they go. So we are starting to see several drivers make their pit stops through. Adam Gray is in as well. George Angelides will come to the pits here. Monet, it looks like, stays out. And so essentially we're at our quote-unquote first pit stop of the race.
Yeah, technically the second one, but of course, restart. Everyone's basically having that a little bit there. We have a bit of a replay here for the overtake from Angelides. Down the inside of turn 1, basically parks it on the apex. And yeah, picture book overtake. Very nicely done.
Exactly how you want to do your overtakes here in Bahrain. Very, very, very good pass there from him to continue it along as we go. Dan Herlock is still in the lead. Now the gap 3.8 seconds and opening. Dan Herlock has put that car into overdrive and is going to be trying to get some time through. We've got yellows flashing between Sector 3 and Sector 1. That is just cars going into and or out of the pits and being registered through. So it's a little bit of just a, hey, it's not a blue flag. Realistically, you'd get blue flags for that, but it is indeed going to be the yellow flags just saying someone's exiting or someone's entering the pits and they're a little bit slower than the cars around. I said blue flags. I feel like I should get in trouble for that because James isn't here and I said blue flags. Dan Herlock into the pits as we go. 57 and a half minutes left, and we'll see where Dan Herlock comes out of the pit box as the sun is going down.
Yeah, really, really close. And, now it's in the middle of the... Well, in the middle of the rhythm now as well, We have quite literally the top 3 in. Mölling is now the person that basically just has to try and get everything right. He can try to go for an overcut. Goes down the inside of Ross Smith, the 100 races livery there. And, yeah, Robin Mölling is now in a very, very unique situation, which is, either he can lose everything or he can gain everything, which is basically, the laps he runs longer than the others in front of him. If he can basically do the equivalent of, Michael Schumacher, let's do another couple of qualifying laps, get everything perfectly, run at maximum speed, or if he's going to hit traffic badly, or if something else happens, or a spin or something, all the others are basically just absolutely picture perfect on their outlap. So it's this really weird rhythm now that we have to see here. Luckily, these Michelins last quite a lot longer than, for example, Pirelli tires in F1, so there's more of a dynamic here than just, well, his tires are older, he's going to get overtaken now.
You're not wrong there, which I do like that it's not all about tires. It's about the run. It's about a lot more things. It makes things very, very exciting all the way through the race instead of just, you hit 3 laps later, okay, you're guaranteed to lap half the field. We continue along here and keep our race going, and here's Robin Mölling into the pits now. Monet's in the lead in Hypercar AM. The only driver that hasn't pit, George Angelides, came out 4 seconds behind Jerry Chen, and it's gonna be interesting to see how George catches up there.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, this is just one of those things, Monet is still out and about as well, currently the leader. Quite a bit clear, you can see the 44-second gap, so that should give him actually a quite decent positioning after the so getting some info with the lap times as well, with the last lap time. Pit stops, sorry. With pit stop times there. So quite a bit difference in pit stop times there as well. So yeah, Jerry Chen with a faster pit stop, able to jump Angelides in the pits. Monet is now in the pits as well. And yeah, now it's basically up to him, how he will end up being in that situation. Meanwhile, in Hypercar Pro, Timon Subic is still out and about as well. Fastest lap so far, half a second off of Daniel Herlock, but in clean air right now. And, if he hits traffic a little bit better, that could also help his course a little bit.
That it could. Herlock and Dahlgren separated by half a second just behind as they continue along, and Chen and Angelides separated by a second and a half as we continue our way forward. They keep themselves moving. It's going to be really interesting to see how this battle plays out through, again, in Hypercar AM and in Hypercar. Timon Subic into the pits now. This will open up the door for Herlock to go through. And we got a replay coming up. This is going to be John Mayer, and John Mayer trying to hit the turn 11-12 section, and well, manages to do what we don't normally see. Usually we see drivers run wide, and this time the Michelin Porsche 963 decides to spin it to the inside and go around, but gets back underway. Dan Herlock here, less than half a second separating Herlock and Dahlgren. Dahlgren again looking for a pass there into turn 14-15, not able to get that pass done at this time.
Oh, and that is Ross Smith? Well, that's not quite in the pits. That is standing, well, outside of the pits. I'm wondering if that's maybe a graphics bug, or if, well, something went wrong there.
No, it does look like that is Ross Smith actually there, and this is a replay of what happened. This is Ross coming out of the final corner, and...
Did he do a Le Mans Cup? Oh. He did a Le Mans Cup.
Avert your eyes. That's going to be a hard hit. Ouch. That is, I believe, going to be a wheel disconnect, if I had to make a guess.
It certainly looks like it. The only other comparison that I'd had for that was a couple years back at the Nürburgring 24, when that BMW GT4 was, running with the hood flipped up, so he couldn't see the pit wall, was trying to get into the pit lane, and unfortunately hit right the pit wall and got stuck there. But he's still sitting there. I'm wondering what's going on there. Yellow flags being frantically waved. And he's slowly but surely rolling backwards onto the racing line as well. So, yeah, a hot situation here right now.
It's real interesting to see how things are going at the moment. Ross is still there. Nobody's hitting him, thankfully, but he is slowly rolling. So this is going to be... I have a feeling that is a game crash or some sort of disconnect for the game. And he might have just gotten lucky that he slammed the wall there where he did, although his car is definitely toast as his car continues to slowly tiptoe its way backwards here along the track, just in neutral, nice and slow rolling. And drivers will just have to continue to avoid him. And you can tell that everyone's kind of just like, oh, what is this car doing here? As he slowly gets more and more towards the racing line as we drift along. Definitely not what he would like to see, but it's what he's got at the moment as we go through. Yet again, 51 minutes left to go. I'm trying to see if Ross can give me an answer of what happened anywhere. I don't see that he said anywhere what's happened, but we jump back up here with Dan Herlock and Dahlgren that are having a good fight all the way through. Dan Kirby said, I wonder if Timon can save enough fuel to only 2-stop to the end. Other guys may have to splash and dash. This will get interesting. I hadn't thought about that at all. That's a very good point. Ross Smith still rolling backwards. Dan Herlock. These are not the historic cars, but Dan Herlock is driving his hypercar like it's one of our historic cars and is just absolutely sliding that puppy through turn 10. That's a wild one to watch there, is yet again Magnus Dahlgren hard on the brakes. It's a little swirly in the front end.
Yeah, it's a rough one now, because obviously there's also like quite a lot of people obviously looking for different ways past. And yeah, now finally the reset. So I'm not quite sure what happened there, what took so long. Maybe he had a very big USB disconnect. I've had that before, that a USB hub completely died. So if he maybe had like, his keyboard connected to that and the steering wheel, then that could have explained that, basically frantically trying to get some input back and able to, press escape for that.
Well, I'll tell you right now, Ross got his share of screen time here, just like Dan Herlock getting his share of front end wiggle time there on screen, with Magnus Dahlgren also wiggling the front end there as they go through. And guess who has joined into that mix? It is Kesby who has joined in as well. So we're just going to go ahead and just make that one a whole lot closer. Again, these three have not let each other calm down for a moment. And Dan Herlock, I tell you what, literally driving the wheels off of this thing at this point.
Absolutely, and absolutely followed as well by Dahlgren and Kesby as well. Merling is also gaining on him, so the fighting at the moment is starting to slow them down a little bit, giving Merling another hope for some more fighting after the pit stop cycle. And they're also catching up to more traffic, though I think this is also a car that might split them into the next braking zone, or at least split part of them. So once again, this ebb and flow of traffic, there we are, splitting P1 and P2. Can't quite do anything other than just slot in behind. Just go past on the inside now. Next person obviously switching over again, and this is just one of these things, the racing line goes over, it's a chicane, switching from a left-hander to a right-hander, and then it's really difficult, of course, to anticipate, okay, where do I go next? I have to basically just slot in the car behind, well, in front of me, that just went past me, that's the safest way, and then the hypercar that next behind us, as we're speaking of slotting in behind and going next to each other, is Dahlgren making a move for the lead.
And this might actually be Dahlgren's best chance to get this pass done for the lead. You see he's on the inside holding the wall. Herlock to the outside. Dahlgren is ahead. Watch the GT3 coming out of the pits. Hard on the brakes. We go into the inside. Herlock to the outside. Dahlgren, a little bit of contact as they go through. And I say a little bit. That was a good little classic NASCAR style shove out of the way as they go. And these hypercars are not stock cars, I'll tell you that, as they go through. Hard on the brakes they go, defending the inside line. Herlock does, holds on to it. Mind Kesby in third. Kesby's gonna try to snake his way through the GT3, not able to get the pass done. Man, guys, you still have 45 minutes of racing to go, and they do not care.
Yeah, you have 45 minutes of racing to go, but the car is literally right there. Why wouldn't I just pass it, right? That's basically, it's this, oh, I really shouldn't go for that move. However.
Man, I don't even know if that's I shouldn't go for this move. However, that's I'm going to make this move work, and I don't care what happens sort of setup. Absolutely trying to send it through, and doggone, I mean, that's a hard run. Look at that hard on the brakes, a wiggle through from Dahlgren. They are giving us entertainment for the ages. Dahlgren losing the grip uphill here as the sun is going down, and things are kind of getting crazy here for us as we continue through. This is very interesting to watch as they go through. And again, Herlock, Dahlgren side by side. I think Dahlgren is going to clear. No, I lied. Herlock to the inside and has the advantage here. Will he have him into the apex? A little bit of a lockup of the brakes. And as they go through, Herlock does keep the lead for another lap. Dan Herlock will hold on the lead, but immediately has to go on the defense.
And once again, it's, well, look at this, like now even more of a close gap. That's Merling now all over the back pretty much of Kesby as well. Herlock against Dahlgren into turn one. Herlock has to stay on the inside. This time he can't quite do that hit. Barely no contact as they go through turn three there. And now coming up to hypercar traffic, so even more of an awkward situation. And still side by side. Another little hit there, and Dahlgren goes back behind Herlock.
Dahlgren just did not realize Herlock was to the inside, I think, because that was an absolute absolute smack as they go through. And Kesby, again, still kind of just holding behind. And Moling is getting up in the mix of this as well. The more they battle, the more they invite the cars behind to catch up. And, of course, Michael Locke is only about 4 seconds behind this. So if we really want to make this wild, this could end up into a 5-car battle out of nowhere. And now, of course, they have Adam Gray right there in front of them trying to go through. This is getting so close. Ross Smith, screen freeze, no idea what happened. Tried to reset the computer, wasn't responding. Eventually I got it. Well, thankfully, Ross did not take out any other cars while his screens were not responding. Because I don't know if he knows, but he was stopped in the middle of the track. It was a little scary there to watch that car slow roll backwards. What's a little more scary is watching those two battle here. So we get a replay up on screen. This is going to be one of the Bice brothers, Stephen Bice specifically. And Stephen Bice kicks the rear end out and sends it around.
Yeah, just a little bit unlucky, a little bit pushing too much, but these guys know how to recover the car as well, and yeah, really unlucky for Ross Smith, of course, in that situation. No one wants to be in that moment, and especially, trying to just reset the computer, but eventually just trying to just do anything just to get that car off track as well, because yeah, that adds another layer of panic, I'd say.
That it does, as we watch layers of panic all the way through. This is Benjamin Porteous Heath. Speaking of a layer of panic with Goncalves ahead and Mayer behind, I mean, they are just not letting things go. That's a bit of a tap there from Mayer to Porteous Heath, and behind them, of course, is going to be Luke Goodlife in the Porsche 963 there. That's that silver and green car you see in the background. I say silver, it's really chrome as they continue, and there's a good send through. Now that is what I like to see from Goodlife, is two cars have an air, and Luke Goodlife says, well, good day to you, sir. I go around the inside. I take 2 places in the space of 1 corner.
Yeah, still, no matter if silver or chrome, definitely going for the gold medal for that pass, and really well done there. Just basically doing exactly what, well, anyone really wants to do. Kesby, meanwhile, dropped down to 4th place, so some mistake must have happened there. Herlock as well, so that while we were just looking at the Hypercar AMS, something big happened in the Hypercar Pro lead. Alder in the lead, Herlock 2.5 seconds behind. Merling right behind that, and that is Merling off to the side.
Mullen just completely going to the left on the brakes. What was that? I don't see any damage, but I mean, any damage? No, maybe Talon? That's, wow. Okay, hard on the brakes, through, around, and well, now we reset things how they were. Dahlgren to Herlock to Kesby, 1, 2, 3.
Just really unfortunate for Merling there. I'm not sure what happened. Yeah, that's just a subtle rear lockup, I'd say. And trying to overcorrect, maybe, just trying to get the car sorted, trying to get the car settled, and maybe outbrake himself a little bit, stayed a bit on too much brake force for a bit too long, yeah. So he's closing up too much, so he's just trying everything in his power to not hit the back of the car ahead. And instead, yeah, unfortunately for the payoff, there we are. That's just the tank stopper with the fronts immediately gripping up, of course, for the correction, and really just unlucky for him.
Herlock and Kesby get the elbows out here. This is going to be another battle to continue, and Kesby flashes the lights for excitement because Ben Kesby now up into 2nd place ahead of Dan Herlock. 3.8, almost 4 seconds, make it 4 seconds and some change to Dahlgren. Dahlgren now just running away here and says, you know what, if you all want to keep battling, that's fine. I'll take my lead. 4.5 seconds the gap. It'll be 5 seconds by the time we come out of this replay here. And this is going to be our replay of what happened between Kesby and Herlock. And Herlock spinning a bit here when he was in the lead. It's a little loose. We're coming through turn 4. This is the 5, 6, 7, 8 complex. And you can see that Herlock just not connecting that car together as it goes through. Kesby behind, just kind of following through, and will very quickly get the pass done.
Yeah, Herlock definitely went from the offensive to the defensive very harshly. And that's once again one of those moments. He's very, very hard on those rear tires the whole race already, and with a move like that, that's just going to eat away at the tires even more, and that's right after our, pretty much at the midway point now, towards the next pit window, and definitely not ideal at all for Herlock at all. So right now he has to try and conserve those tires for the rest of the stint, try and cool them down again, because heat degradation is a thing as well, and as long as the sun is up, this tarmac will milk him off the rip.
That it will, and once the sun goes down, I don't even know that we'll really get any nighttime running, unfortunately, with the server change. But the headlights are on, and something I know we haven't talked about is the fact that we could see DQs if you forgot to map your automatic headlights in Rust. We have seen people lose before. We're going to get a quick replay, and then we'll get in touch with Ross Smith here to talk about some of the challenges we've seen through this. And this is how this is going to be how Dan Herlock lost his time earlier on. This is with Magnus Dahlgren, and it's out of the final corner, and just kind of sends it all the way wide, and that just opens the door, loses the run, and there it goes. But we do have Ross Smith. I said I was going to talk to him later. I was hoping it was under some different circumstances. Ross, welcome back. 38 minutes left to go. How are you doing?
Good. It's a pretty exciting race out there right now.
I mean, watching this hypercar battle go, it's been watching this hypercar battle go, it's been a lot of fun. Anything with the handling of the hypercars, because I feel like I've seen a lot of them sliding around. Were we expecting that, or is that something that's just kind of crept itself up here with being in the desert in the afternoon?
So yeah, with the hypercars, it's kind of like what I was saying before, where as they go through their tires, it's just going to be chaos for them because they have to manage that. Obviously, with what we were seeing with Herlock there, he's been trying to utilize that all-wheel drive, and the all-wheel drive is always very tricky because it starts off very understeery and can very much be oversteery, and that changes depending on corner speed and everything. But yeah, he's obviously put a really good fight in for Magnus. That Alpine though, man, it's strong here, and it always was going to be very much like the Acura.
Yeah, they are very strong cars here. 37 minutes to go. Of course, with our red flag situation earlier, kind of throws a lot of strategy out the window. Out of those top three, Dahlgren, Kesby, Herlock, that have been battling it out so hard for so long, who do you think is going to pull ahead out of the three?
I mean, Dahlgren kind of looks the most stable right now. I don't want to count any of them out, though, because Kesby's always shown that he can drive a very steady race and really push through to the end. I know that they each have their own strategies right now that they're playing out, and it's kind of been a little messed up because of the red flag. We're kind of seeing some of the effects of that, I feel like. But yeah, I don't want to count any of them out because, like you said earlier, anything can happen. You can have an errant car, pass on a GT3 or something. You can have a botched pit stop. There's I mean, you could have me sitting in the middle of the track, screen freeze. So it can go anywhere, and you don't want to call it too early.
Yeah, that I agree with there. GT3s, we're thinking one more pit stop, and I think hypercars have 2 more pit stops. Does that sound accurate to you?
Yeah, I think that'll be the case for most of these here. Although there are a couple of hypercars, I'm not exactly sure where they're at in their run right now, but that should play out. You might have some that if they do another stop, it could just be a splash and dash at the end. It's not going to be very much depending on how they split this up.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here. Ross, we'll let you go enjoy the race, hang out. 36 minutes left to go here. Season finale, of course, maybe not the best way to end it, but it did provide a little bit of a meme moment there, I'm not going to lie. You sitting in the middle of the front stretch with that bright pink number 100 car sitting still. So that could be good for a highlight reel for a season rerun.
Yeah, it's just letting everybody know, it feels good to be here for this long, and we'll sign off for a little bit. Go work on some cars while we see this thing play out.
Yeah, absolutely. Ross, take it easy. Have a good night, and we'll catch you on the track for the next historic run here coming soon.
Sure thing, Bradley. Nico, Paul, have a good night.
Always a pleasure to talk to him. And, ain't no rest for the wicked, He's basically going Well, the race didn't go quite as planned. Guess I gotta go work on some cars. I admire that working ethic.
That is one thing with Ross, is he really knows that work ethic and getting the cars together. Everyone at Storm Gang, of course, pushing hard to make their mods here in R Factor 2 for VWSC, both historics, year to be announced, and moderns be the best that they can be here. We've got Dahlgren in the pits, we've got Locke in the pits, so Hypercars, 34 minutes to go, and we see them into the pits now. And we should expect one more pit stop from them beyond that. So we'll see when Kesby, Herlock, De Bruin, and Mullen come into the pits here as we start those pit stop cycles yet again.
Yeah, it's just, the old classic rotation that we basically get every so often. Dahlgren and Locke already in. Kesby is, a little bit clear now of everyone, having pretty much just profited off of, staying error-free in comparison. Herlock trying his best to hang on within that distance there, but he'll definitely want to take tires for the last stint pretty much. Or maybe, if they don't run too well, if they consume a bit too much fuel, it could actually be with, the downside that they have to pit again.
Yeah, it's gonna be challenging, but I think the big thing that I worry about is if anyone's gonna even be able to sort of calculate that fuel out here, because again, with the red flag, it kind of throws off all of your strategy. So we'll see how the drivers handle it through as we go through. We're following Wouter de Bruin here, who has Mullen just behind for company. They get around the GT3 Mustang, they continue along, yellow flag in sector 1 as we go, and hard on the brakes goes Wouter de Bruin there, coming through with Mullen just behind. Will they dive off into the pits? The answer is no. They are going to keep this one going for the moment. 3 seconds behind they are to Herlock. Side by side, they're going to go down the front stretch here. Who comes out ahead? And hard on the brakes. Big wiggle there from Mullen, but Mullen is going to hold on to that. De Bruin will dive to the inside. Has the better run, though, out of 2 and 3, I believe. And we'll try for a pass into 4 if it's possible.
Absolutely, and this is just the big. This is now the big shuffling around, of course, in the middle of it. Kesby's in the pit. Mulling is, of course, still on the chase for Herlock, and right behind that, De Bruin, one of the men that got very, very caught out by the initial start with that huge accident there that he somehow took the lead from. I'm gonna be honest, I actually have never seen that. Someone going into the back of someone and as a result gaining the overall lead from that start.
Yeah, it's very weird to see, but somehow it did that. And now we have De Bruin in that solid 3rd place that will drop back to around 6th place after the pit stop cycles finish their way up. We're getting close to that 30-minute mark to go, 3/4 of the way through with the race at that point. And again, the sun's going down, the track is going to start to grip a little bit more. I would anticipate that at this point the drivers are really going to just kind of throw care to the wind. It's the final round of the season. They're going to just get on with it, get going, and let things lie how they lie. 2 seconds between Herlock and Mullen, 1.7 seconds now actually as they go. The lights of the track, I love this track at night. It is gorgeous, it is absolutely bright, and I know you have to have headlights on, but realistically, you don't really need headlights for Bahrain. This is a track that if you didn't turn headlights on, you can see just fine. But of course, in IMSA, in WEC, they usually run, if they have track lights, they run them at like 15 or 20% power, just so they're there mainly for, bystanders, and the drivers need to rely on the headlights and, be able to drive at night.
I'm gonna do something that I love doing when the race is going well. I'm going to quote Cars. Race cars don't need headlights because the track is always lit. And that is the same case here, of course, but the headlights are, of course, still mandatory. Of course, very, very important. Not just because the simulator will disqualify you if you don't have them on, but also just in general, it's a lot better of an indication. Just think, for example, you're driving on the motorway. What do people generally do behind you when they come up behind you at 750,000 kilometers an hour and before they almost crash into the back of your car? Yes, they don't use the horn, they use the lights flash, because that catches your attention easier.
That has to be a uniquely European thing because they don't do that in the U.S. They just get all the way to the bumper to the point where you can see the booger hanging out of their nose, and then they just sit there and tailgate you until you get out of their way. They give you no indication they're behind you. I wish they would, though. As we go through Herlock here with Mullen 0.2 of a second behind. Mullen going to go for the pass, hard on the pass, deep on the brakes. Blue flags waving, and Mullen now into the lead here past Herlock. And Herlock doesn't care, just straight into the pits.
Yeah, just, well, choosing his time pretty well, actually, I'd say. You know, before everything gets a bit too heated again, and yeah, basically we're just looking at everyone going in, out of the pits, you know, people flying past, and yeah, obviously, you know, very, very quickly getting darker here. I wonder if there's a lot of stars out tonight.
You know, that's a good question. You may not be able to see them because of the track lights, but it's a good question nonetheless. And to give you an update on weather, we haven't talked about weather. Of course, weather's been a topic at pretty much every modern race the past few rounds, as we see Robin Mullen making a pass on one of the Bice brothers here going through. That's the number 98. That is Mike Bice going through and around. 1% chance of rain. Don't get your hopes up.
I'm gonna be honest, I could do without rain for this race. Because if if they set the track up realistically, you know, then everything will be swamped and the cars will drown. They had that a couple years back in the 24 Hours of Dubai, where they had to just stop the race in the middle of the night because, you know, they had the one day where well, pretty much the one day, or like one of the few days in the year in Dubai, where it actually rains, and when it rains it pours, and Dubai is basically in the desert, so no water sickles down through the ground. It just all stayed there. They had half the front straight basically completely just drowned, like half a meter of water.
It's going to be real interesting to see. That's one of those that I don't know how we would do here, but it would be real interesting to see here. As Mullings into the pit here, De Bruin is behind by a few seconds, and I think De Bruin is into the pits as well, with JT Tammy and Benica in going through. So now Magnus Dahlgren is set to inherit the lead here as they go. We're 27 minutes left, and we'll see. I'm trying to do math in my head, and math in my head is not my strong suit today, so Dahlgren might pick up the lead here with Kesby, De Bruin into third, Mullen into fourth, maybe, and Herlock has dropped back a bit then at that point. That's a pretty significant difference of gap. I'm wondering if Herlock's trying to just not hit to the end and is going to try to conserve the fuel to make it to the end.
Yeah, that's now the big question, you know? Like, I'd say that, for example, Dahlgren, he should be fine either way. You know, it's just 27 minutes left now when he comes back around, so I don't think that he pitted that much earlier. But I could be wrong, and if he does have to do that final splash and dash, that could be quite critical for his race, of course. Because in the end, you know, that's, of course, just a couple seconds stationary, but that's still around 15, 20 seconds that you lose when you have to go crawling down the pit lane at that incredibly slow speed compared to the normal front straight.
Yeah, it's rough in that regard, I'm not gonna lie. Trying to slow it down and get going and then come back. I'm curious to see how things line up for the end here. 26 minutes left to go. Dahlgren in the lead by 4.4 seconds. Back in Hypercar, and Monet still needs to pit. So Angelita is currently in the lead on Jerry Chen. We'll see how that one ends up. Junt is leading Holden there by 11 seconds in GT3, and Miller currently in the lead of GT3 AM.
It's calmed down a little bit. GT3 AM basically also with Miller pretty much by himself at the moment, with you know, people in the pit and everything. And David Junt actually having somehow managed to bring it up to P1. Looking great for the championship, of course. And, well, He came from P7, ladies and gentlemen, so a really, really good and consistent recovery drive, I'd say.
Yeah, it's a good, consistent recovery drive, as you said, and now it's just about maintaining it here through to the end. And I think that is very much doable. We've hit this point where the lights are on, and I think all the drivers have kind of realized it's nighttime now, and they've dialed it back that 1% that I was worried they weren't going to earlier. They've really, settled in, hit the groove, and they're trying to just make it all the way to the end. At this point, 24 minutes left to go to round out our 2024 VWSC modern season. And at the moment, it's a lot of drivers still having issues with turn 10 there.
It is a difficult corner, of course, but it's also just a little bit misleading because, you are over a sort of semi-blind crest into a hairpin, and so you're basically always going, okay, I can brake a little bit earlier here, a little bit later. And yeah, it's just never really a satisfying corner to take in the end.
It's not at all. I couldn't have phrased it better myself, especially when you're in a sea of cars like this. You mess it up, it's a bad time. Eric Monet into the pits here. George Angelidis now inherits the Hypercar AM lead. Gap 8.4 seconds as it goes. And, sorry, no, he takes back the lead. Yeah, English is struggling for me. And Paul, as we talked about earlier, as we have Katarinakis here battling in the battle for P6 and GT3. Paul, I kind of poked a bear at you in YouTube chat earlier on another stream that it was 9 a.m. and I was wide awake and I was good to go, and now I'm sitting here wishing I'd slept in a little bit longer as we continue. Nico, you know what I'm talking about as we have Katarinakis now down into 7th with JT Tammy getting back up into 6th side by side.
Oh, I know that feeling all too well, but no rest for the wicked. Not quite to the degree of Ross Smith, having a PC crash, game crash, PC crash pretty much, and then going, oh well, DNF, and straight back to work for the modding team. We have back to the replay. No rest for the Ricketts, no rest for the Hypercar drivers, I see. Yep, that is a bit of a spin.
Ooh, that's a spin from the number 88, and is going to get things back going underway. And Dahlgren will need another stop, is what I am being told as we go through. Katarinakis is still not done with this battle with JT Tammy. They are going to keep this going. You think they're battling for the lead here the way they're running. They are not done at all. And at the moment, it is JT Tammy who has the one-up on Katarinakis as they continue along.
Yeah, they're just basically just all over each other. Next replay to see as well. What do we get to see here? The same battle, pretty much, just into turn 1. And here there's no difference between cars, it's just Aston Martin versus Aston Martin. Both of them performing far better than the son of the Aston Martin CEO recently. And that's very nice. Well, the move didn't look that dangerous to me.
Oh, I meant me in general. I made a dangerous, no, I meant your comment in general was a little bit dangerous, but we keep things going here. We keep things
not
moving.
As dangerous as Lance Stroll is on track, so it's all okay.
Well, I mean, he has to. I was gonna say he has to stay on track, and the issue is he gets in the gravel, so. There's no harm, no foul. Anyways,
legends say he is still there.
Honestly, he probably is. Adam Gray in P8 in Hypercar AM here as we continue along. He's trying to put some pressure on very, very quickly as he goes through with Benjamin Porteous. He's 0.3 of a second separating these two in the battle for P7 in Hypercar AM as we are now deep into the night. And Adrian went wide there. Adam Gray is going to very, very quickly pick up that position. Very, very nice and gentle move there into 7th place for Adam Gray. Benjamin Porteous Heath is going to try to fight it back deep on the brakes down the inside. Little bit of contact there. And now they go through Adam Gray still in 8th place. 7th place still Benjamin Porteous Heath as they swap things back.
Yeah, definitely everyone just, all over the place. Everyone's always looking to make moves, and Adam Gray not trying to make a move, but I think a bit too hesitantly. So that's one of the difficulties as well. You're trying to. Okay, no, I thought for a moment the car was crabbing, but that was just the camera angle, I think. It's just this moment where you have to really commit to a move as well, and if you're a little bit even like holding back with the move, you're holding back, you're unsure if you want to go and dive bomb someone out of the way. Those other people can also miscalculate that commitment or lack of commitment from you, and it's just getting really, really difficult to judge where that car is going to end up in the end.
Yeah, it does get very, very difficult to judge, and I don't think there was contact in that, but I think it all does go back to what you were saying about it's difficult to judge here. Magnus Dahlgren, look at that rear diffuser there. Thank you, CMS. Thank you, JP Broadcasting. A big thank you to Magnus Dahlgren for running that thank you on the back wing there. And of course, can't forget SGS, Storm Gang Simulations there. The big thank you there for the final round of this modern car season. And big shout out to Magnus Dahlgren for running that. It's very, very much appreciated to see the support to us, because of course, without the drivers, nothing that we do here would be possible. And we've been doing this since January, and well, before that. So, but I've been with the commentary team since January, and it's been a lot of fun to be able to commentate this full hypercar season and full modern season, and see the ups, the downs, the all the way arounds, and really get to learn what happens here at VWSC. It's been a lot of fun, and I can't wait for future years to come here as we go. 18 and a half minutes left to go here, Nico. I think everyone, again, is just really trying to run it to the end. This has become very much a fuel limited race, and I have a feeling that is where we set through. As Kirby mentioned, Dahlgren stopped with about 34 minutes left. Herlock's been saving fuel. Probably not going to be able to avoid a splash and dash here. It is going to be very interesting to see. Mr. Reese has said that probably a lot of the cars in the front, and the hypercars especially, are going to need to do some sort of a splash and dash. But I think George Angelidis has said, you know what, instead of saving fuel, I'm going to dump it to the floor and go. George Angelidis with a 45-second lead in Hypercar EM right now.
Yeah, that's, the different approach to strategy. And right now, honestly, I think that's the best he can do. That's his most... Well, the strategy that he can take with the high success. There's John Mayer with, we've seen these 963s in blue tint spinning off a little bit often recently, so I think that's also a bit of attrition starting to take their toll now.
It is indeed, and again, this is, for a 2-hour race, this is running a bit longer than we expected at this point. Again, with that red flag stoppage as it came through, typically we'd be preparing to take the checkered flag right now, but we did have to delay about 10 to 15 minutes to get the race restarted. So it could be that, even though we've ran 2.4-hour races here, we've ran, longer races, could be a bit of fatigue here at the end starting to come in. Holden's in GT3, Gutierrez is in GT3. So GT3 is now making their final pit stops that need to make their pit stops. Stephen Miller there in the lead of GT3 AM, ahead there of Magnus Dahlgren in the lead of Hypercar as he tries to snake his way through. There is Wouter de Bruin coming through. There's Mulling just ahead by a couple of seconds. This is the battle for P5 and Hypercar. Gap over a second now as they sit. 16 and a half minutes left to go, and at this point it's all about the splash, dash, and run as they go.
Absolutely, and these guys of course will be looking, when's the best time to pit, when's where I don't get traffic as well, where I stay the most in clean air. And especially for splash and dashes, you're not really going on new tires or anything, so you're literally just looking to, stay on peak pace and lose as little time as possible with that, as we have another car sharing off for their final pit stop in the background.
Yeah, we continue to watch these pit stops come through. That is going to be Stephen Miller in the GT3 AMs who is in as we follow along here. Dahlgren holding a 3-second lead there to Kesby as they continue around. I can't believe Angelidis still has a 46-second gap to Chen, though. But it goes to show that George Angelidis is really trying to run that car long on the pit stop cycle here. Of course, Jerry Chen has done his third pit stop. George Angelidis has not. So curious to see when they decide to slam on those brakes and get things going here as Wouter de Bruin there, possibly with some penalties to come his way, depending on how the stewards view that race start. That's, yeah, we're going back to that. That race start was still something else here as we watched de Bruin go around the one of the Bice brothers and continue his way through.
Absolutely. Final stages, of course, everyone's getting a little bit jittery. Either they're a bit, well, how would you say it? Either they're a bit exhausted, or alternatively, you know, they're eager to make their final moves here. But either way, Kesby's slowly looking to close that gap to Dahlgren. Both of them should still realistically do a final splash and dash, I think. Herlock already got that out of the way, pretty much. 16-second gap behind. And now the question is when. Now the question is when they'll get that last pit stop in, and when, you know, they will actually want to do that one. You know, right now, of course, you know, Dahlgren doesn't want to get slowed down by anything, but if Kesby's catching up right to the back of him, I think the best shot that he has is basically just do the splash and dash now, don't waste time fighting, and try to then just get him on the over and under.
Yeah, the over-under is going to be the interesting part. David Junt has now done his fastest lap of the race with a 1:57, so putting down the power with 13 minutes left to go to round out this season. And now, David Junt into the pits here. This is going to open things up just a little bit and make things a little interesting. Look at Kesby. Kesby's right on the back of Dahlgren as they continue along. They go around the GT3 here out of turn 10. They go through. Kesby is a feisty driver to have behind you, Magnus Dahlgren. So if I am you, I would be very careful. Very, very careful indeed here, because Kesby's going to be the one to very quickly get beside you and just kind of throw the elbows out there.
I just quickly have a, you know, little sniff on the inside, or, well, not even that, you know, we saw both of them actually try to psych out each other throughout the race, you know, just holding the nose a little bit towards the inside, you know, looking down the inside but not making a move. Not just, you know, to try and go for an overtake, but obviously, you know, to try and play a bit of mind games. Because, of course, as soon as you have that, you know, visibility there, the car's looking to your inside, they're right behind you, you are a bit more inclined, I don't want to get spun, I have to leave the door open a little bit, and that's exactly what those mind games aim for.
That they do. We continue along here at the moment as we go. We're watching Dahlgren and Kesby battle it out. In the bottom right corner, we're on board with Kesby as we have in the main screen the picture-in-picture setup watching Dahlgren and Kesby battle. Dahlgren a little bit tight there on the inside. Kesby runs wide but gets caught up by the GT3 Mustang, and now they go through, and there we go, ladies and gentlemen. At this point, Dahlgren getting very smart there, using the GT3 to kind of pick traffic and use it as a blocking feature, and man, they are very, very close together as they continue along. Hard on the brakes into 9. We go into 10. Kesby again has been taking that big aggressive run through 10. Here we go now. Kesby trying to make a run. We see here right on the back, you can read the text on the rear wing. He's that close as we continue along here. Slipstream through into 11, through 12 and 13 they go. And man, look at this. They are absolutely pushing. Kesby is not giving up yet. I think Ben Kesby thinks he can get a win on this one.
Yeah, he's definitely in it to win it, if he can get it sorted. We've got yellow flags along the circuit as well, so something happened on track. But those two guys don't care right now. It's not in their section. It's just another distraction that they can't afford right now. So they basically just keep going at each other. Next car for traffic sharing off, and that is Dahlgren going for the pit stop, so he blinks first.
That he does, and this is going to be interesting to see how this goes with 10 minutes left in this race as they continue. This is the number 65 Mustang. Runs wide and then cuts back through and lightly grazes the wall there. Maybe just a little scuff mark on that front bumper, but nothing too severe as they go.
Yeah, escaped with a slap on the wrist, so to say, there, but of course, time lost, still frustrating. And, well, one man here, it's Magnus Dahlgren, waiting patiently for them to fill up this car. And I think, honestly, with that long being stationary for that long, I think he just got put off the jack, so he might have gotten new tires as well. I think that might have cost him the win, I'm going to be honest.
There's no way he just took new tires right at the end, right? There's no way he would have taken new tires this close to the end. He surely didn't do that on purpose. Yeah, that's a 46-second pit stop. Boosink in the YouTube chat says, give Wooter some slack. He won a 6-hour race on Imola in a Porsche 911 GT3. Hold on. So you're telling me that De Bruin ran a 6-hour solo race on Imola in the Porsche 911 GT3 and then turned around and jumped here to run 2 hours at Bahrain? What a mad lad. Kesby now also staying out here as we go. 10 seconds the gap between Ben Kesby and Michael Locke. 9 minutes to go in this race.
He actually just jumped out of the car, went, yeah, I got time, and jumped into this one. Absolutely incredible. Hey, Kesby almost going for the Mazepin line there through the exit of turn 3 to get past traffic, but handles a lot more than the... Well, I don't want to get yoinked by the Russian secret state, so I'm not going to make a comment about Nikita Mazepin, but nevertheless, he solved it a lot better because he's still in the race, Ben Kesby. But we'll still have to go, of course, for that final pit stop.
That he will. Final pit stops are gonna make or break everyone's race here. At this point, I'm just curious to know who's pulled in, who's pulled out of the pits every single lap here. Good Life and Concalves in the bottom right screen here. That is the battle we're watching through. That is gonna be the battle in Hypercar AM. And now we've got more penalties coming through. Holden has a penalty here, and we continue to see cars off track. At the end of this race, with 8 minutes to go, this is going to be probably the longest 8 minutes of some of these drivers' life. If they have calculated fuel right, if they've calculated everything through, that's going to be the big question. And I don't have an answer for you on if they have or if they haven't. It's going to be very, very, very close here. Kesby, I don't know if Kesby needs to pit or not. I would think he does. It's going to be close, though. 43 seconds the gap between Kesby through, and is he going to dive in on the GT? Oh! Ooh! One of the Vice brothers just about took him out, trying to get to the pits, and in the bottom right, we've got a car around.
This is, of course, the final stages of the race. They're all over each other. They're going for the final run, the final dance, so to say. And yeah, we have Herlock and Merling now. Against all odds, Merling is still in the fight for this. As we have Kesby now setting off from the pit lane, but he will fall behind the two because that's a long way still to go. They already passed him, and Merling actually goes for the move to the lead now. Keeps it calm, keeps it cool. Slide, but gets clean. And
Yeah,
Kesby,
Kesby
33.6. That's 13 seconds faster in that pit stop. So, yeah, Dahlgren definitely took some tires there. That must have been a mistake. Surely that wasn't planned.
Yeah, that's got to be a case of the old thumb slip on the wrong button. That's, yeah, because Dahlgren was stationary for 25 seconds. So I have a feeling that was a case that Dahlgren had a different strategy in mind, was set up for that, and then changed it last second, but forgot to actually reprogram the strategy. It's an unfortunate one to see there as we go through. Dan Herlock right on the back of Robin Moling. Surely these two need to pit and splash and dash as well. But we might be set up for a Robin Moling win if Dan Herlock has the traction out of the corner here. They're going to go side by side down the quote-unquote backstretch as they continue down into turn 11, hard on the brakes. And there we go. Moling will continue with the lead.
Georgian's lead is also in the pits for his final time. With only 5 minutes to go, so definitely a very late splash and dash. Jerry Chen looking to go and overcome 30 seconds, but I think that is a too big gap to overcome. So unless Angelides made the same mistake with the pit stop, He should be fine. He should be fine. That was 9.5 seconds stationary out of the pit lane again, and 20 seconds clear. So that's Angelidis that gets out in the lead, and very comfortably so.
Yeah, and remember, of course, George Angelidis and Jerry Chen, that is the battle for Hypercar standings overall, and who wins the championship in that one. For Jerry Chen right now, he is in the lead by 18 points. Is Angelidis winning this race going to be enough for him to get the championship? I don't know. I don't believe so, though. I don't think that's going to give him enough of a point advantage to get that championship. We'll see what happens, though, as we continue along. We'll wait for any sort of an official announcement to come through, because, of course, I don't want to give the official announcements because it's very unfortunate, honestly, when you give an announcement early and then it's wrong. Hard on the brakes, we see there from Dan Herlock. Dan Herlock getting the wiggles. Robin Mullen now needs to just hold on to it for 4.5 minutes left around this Bahrain circuit in the nighttime.
Robin Mullen is, he's holding on to it right now, looking to put as much of these GT cars between him and Dan Herlock there as possible. The Ruin, of course, right on the tail as well, but the entrance is compromised by the GT car on the outside. Now GT cars on the inside in this left and right race again. That's David Yond. GT lead now getting overtaken by the lapping cars. Comfortably 3 seconds ahead of Beninka. But Merling through this section, sorry to interrupt you there, Merling did take that quite well, so he actually managed to gain a little bit of time momentarily.
I'm just wondering if they continue here or if they dive into the pits. I would surely think. Are they going to have enough fuel to make it to the end then? 3.5 minutes left to go. They're running 1:49 laps. Wow. De Bruyn's catching up to them, so they have backed it off considerably. We all of a sudden have a 3-car battle for the win, and if Kesby can gain time here in the final 3 minutes, I mean, this could surely turn into a 4-car battle for the win just out of nowhere.
That could be very, very clearly some fuel-saving stuff, but Kesby would of course be only 4 seconds behind, catching rapidly, of course. You can see him now in the bottom right window there, and in the top window there as well, just from a different camera angle. If they're saving fuel, that will be a very close thing, but an absolutely phenomenal victory if they can keep going. But as it looks right now, that would be 1 or 2 laps left to go. That would get very close to the 0 marker.
I think when they cross the line, it will be white flag out. We'll see if I'm right or if I'm wrong here. Magnus Dahlgren is 11 seconds back from Kesby as they go. Ben Kesby has now cut the gap to 2.2 seconds between him and De Bruyn. Herlock goes wide. De Bruyn's trying to make a run through. As they go around, they come through. Wouter De Bruyn now up into second. Robin Mullen, you can breathe for a millisecond easier here. Ben Kesby continuing to close the gap. They'll come across the line under 1:49 to go. So this will be our white flag through. You can see the flagman there on the right-hand side of the screen. Now on your left-hand side of the screen, is that white flag waving? I don't see the white flag. Surely it's not this and one more, is it?
No. It should be. It should be fine. It should be the final lap now, because that is, the next time they come across, that will definitely be, 0 on the time left. And just unfortunate again there for Herlock. A little bit of a lockup, I think, on the outside curb, and with the rear just locking up like that, it's really, really difficult, of course.
That it is. We come through here with De Bruyn, Mullen, Herlock, Kesby now 1.9 seconds to the lead, and you can see he's right on the back there, but 3/4 of a lap to make up. Can he make up the 1.9 in just this last half of the lap? It's a huge ask. I don't know if that's going to be doable, but for Robin Mullen, can Robin Mullen hold on to this through?
Oh, that's Herlock.
Herlock has locked it up and sent it around. Herlock down into fourth, but this is the battle. Mullen and Bruin. And Herlock
And
picked up the
getting a
penalty as well.
penalty.
For that. Wow.
That must have been one of the markers for the cup tracks then.
Wow, was not expecting that. They come through up the hill, down into the hard right-hander of 13, and this is going to be Mullen versus De Bruin as they go. They come across onto the backstretch here. Mullen in the lead. De Bruin 0.3 of a second back. They're going to have a drag race to the line here. Who is going to come out ahead is the million-dollar question, though. Mullen has been really not up at the front. We've watched the battle up at the front. For De Bruin, we'll see if he has the run to the line. Down to the wall they go, and it is going to be Robin Mullen pulling out the season finale win here and crosses the line to claim victory in round 13 of this VWSC Modern Series. And George Angelides, with a 30-second lead, is bringing it around here through the back half of the track. Actually, no, correction. He's not through the back half of the track. This is down towards turn 8 that he is going right now, and he is with our GT3 leader, or GT3 second place car, as our GT3 leader there on the right-hand side comes across the line, and that is going to be David Junt, who brings it through to claim GT3 victory.
Yeah, fantastic. Just recovery from him, I have to say. Really, really well done from Junt, recovering from 7th place, then with all this chaos with red flag obviously going on, then, despite the seeming dominance of the Aston Martin, to bring it back up to, to win the race, really well done. As a former Honda esports factory driver, it's very nice to see the NSX at least win something nowadays. And of course, with these guys, they have a lot of pedigree in making these cars very realistic. And George Angelides, of course, HRC US, and the next Acura that gets brought to a victory today, coming around the final 2 corners. And that's in the bag as well. And he must be absolutely, completely, superbly happy with that.
He's going to be absolutely ecstatic. Look at him as he comes across the line, swerves it, flashing the lights. That's a hard-fought victory for George Angelides to bring it through and around, and you see all the cars staging at the end of turn 1 there. They're just coasting down and then getting on the brakes and stopping there, getting their cars off track. They're very, very happy with the run there. And you can see Chen there on the side, who also flashes headlights. But that is what I would like to call a very, very good round 13 here from Bahrain. A little bit of a mix-up there in the middle, a little bit of a red flag moment. But in the end, it was indeed the 30 cars finishing the race. We started with 34 after the red flag. I believe it was 36 at the top of the race session. And we'll run down the results real quick. Let's talk about the 34 drivers that came back after the red flag. Robin Mullen, of course, getting that overall win. Wouter De Bruin in second place. Of course, though, his race start under investigation after a little bit of chaos there. Ben Kesby in third. Dan Herlock finishes it out in 4th place after a spin there on the final lap. Magnus Dahlgren down into 5th, led a large majority of the time. Michael Locke in P6 actually there. A little bit of a weird graphics glitch. P7 John Uyen, Timon Suvic P8. George Angelides in 9th place wins. Hypercar Am and Jerry Chen in P10. From there, we're going to go P11, which was Alexander Sarama, and then P12, Eric Monet. Luke Goodlife in 13th, John Mayer in 14th, Benikas Goncalves in P15, Benjamin Porteous Heath in 16th place, overtaking Adam Gray in the end for 17th. David Junt, your GT3 winner, with Eduardo Benica in 2nd place, JT Tammy in 3rd place there, P20 overall, respectively. So a good GT3 podium. From there, we're going 21st, Johnny Gutierrez, 22nd, Alan Holden, 23rd, James Walker, Veles Kataranakis in 24th, Adrian Rice in 25th. Stephen Miller wins GT3 AM in P26, Matthew Bice in 27th, Gilles Lalonde in 28th, Stephen Bice in 29th, and then Mike Bice in 30th. And then that's going to bring us to the 4 cars that did not finish this race. And I hate to report, they're all Acuras. It's Robert Strachan, Ross Smith, Stuart Barge, and Jamie Zalecki are 4 DNFs of this race session. It's a good race. All in all said and done, it's been a long season, and it rounded off with a little bit of chaos, a little bit of fun, and overall, we watched great battles top to bottom here, Nico.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't expect the French victor today, but that just shows, how close the racing around here can get, even with spins, even with like slight mistakes, with the strategy can always tilt the race back into your favor. And a lot of respect today on track, a lot of very good wheel-to-wheel battles. Was really good to watch. And yeah, I'm looking forward to next year already when the next season starts.
That I am. We're giving our winners a second here to gather and get ready for their interviews for this final round of the season. And to kind of catch you up on points, Hypercar AM going in, it was Jerry Chen to George Angelidis. And then for the GT3s, David Junt and JT Tammy were battling. Looking through here at what we have, championship winners, Matthew Bice won GT3 AM. Stephen Miller, of course, winning the race today. Dan Kirby winning Hypercar, wasn't here today, winning the battle. And we will wait for official announcements on Hypercar AM and GT3. But I can tell you the GT3 team standings going into this race was Dark Thunder Racing, Aston Martin. So we'll see what happens there. We give our winners just a moment to gather things up. They're obviously going to be celebrating. They're going to be dancing a little bit, having a little bit of fun. We'll see who decides they want to speak about their win first.
Just waiting for people to enter the waiting room. We're just like, the pit lane reporters pretty much just waiting outside, everyone celebrating, just standing there with a microphone awkwardly. Okay, guys, yeah, really cool race. Can we get someone to talk to, please?
Yeah, and with it being the final race, of course, the drivers are going to be taking an extra minute, kind of, saying, their congrats. They're going to be celebrating a bit. They're going to be having a bit of fun here, and we are, just kind of having to hang out for a minute and go through and see, who goes where, who decides to jump first, and well, I don't see that anyone's jumped yet here. So we'll give them an extra second here.
Well, we've got some people.
Yeah, so I'm going to start with Stephen Miller here. Of course, the winner as it stands here in the GT3 AM class today. Stephen, it was a pretty fun race for you, it seemed like. Other than, the red flag kind of causing a little bit of chaos, it seems like you had a good run all the way through, nothing too wild.
Oh, races are never what they seem to be.
Let me guess, hypercars.
Yeah, hypercars were aggressive sometimes and a bit squirrely sometimes, and they got in the way sometimes, as they usually do. But I'm kind of a bit overwhelmed by this because I was not expecting this to happen. I spent a lot of time practicing for this particular race, but I did not appreciate that I was going to have this kind of pace and be able to match Matthew Buis on the track. It was a real race of, it was tires and maintaining your pace and staying out of trouble and being as consistent as I could be. But the Speed Details car has bookended the season with wins at both ends.
Yeah, and I got to ask you about your season as a whole. How do you feel about getting the win on both ends, as you just said? And, even if it's not a championship run, you were fourth place in the standings. Coming into this might have put you into P3. I don't want to speak too soon. But
I haven't even looked at that yet. That was on my mind, but it was, I always enter these things. I just want to finish as best I can. Okay. And want to thank all the people that have helped me along the way. It's been great, and it's just a bit overwhelming. I was actually able to keep ahead of Matthew and pass him in one particular case, so the strategy and the pace worked out well.
Absolutely, and I got to ask, Stephen, are we going to see you on the track next year since this is the final run of the season?
That's a really interesting question. I'm one of the senior folks in this group, so I'm actually 72.
No.
So, yes.
Wow. Wouldn't have guessed that.
Well, most people don't. My wife tells me I'm well preserved.
So we'll see you next year then, I'm sure.
Well,
You gotta
probably
keep
maybe
showing
doing
people how it's
something.
done.
Pardon me?
You got to keep showing the drivers how it's done.
Oh, is that what I've been doing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, Steven, I'll let you go celebrate the win. Take it easy, and we'll catch up with you sometime, okay?
Okay, thanks very much. Talk to you later. Great
Thanks.
series.
Bye-bye. All right. I would never have guessed that Stephen Miller was 72. So that was some news to me. I wasn't expecting that one. We'll pull in our next interviewee here, and we'll grab our GT3 winner as it goes. So, David Junt, good evening. How are you? How was the race?
One second. Hello.
Hey, how's it feel to end the season on a high note?
Very good. I'm very, very tired, to be honest. I didn't think that would be coming through after the whole, how it was going towards the end of the season and how this event kind of started out,
Yeah, it was kind of a wild run there, and of course the red flag mixing things up. Did the red flag help you at all? I have to ask, kind of give you a chance to reset, or did it make things tougher for you as we went?
The qualifying session was already, I think, like it caught JT out the last time, and now it disconnected me, so I had like one run, messed it completely up, and so was further down. And in the race, I was basically just playing his shadow always, like I'm just looking to follow him and see if I can like. And then the disconnect came, and I thought, well, it didn't get us two, so we were like, well, good connections, but I knew he was like gonna change one side tires, or I saw he did it, so that was a 6-second gap, or it would have been, and then I noticed during our pit stops in the shortened race that the Aston's tire, saving comes into effect because he didn't take any tires. So I was like thinking, it's never gonna work out. I'm never gonna see him again. Last stop, he's just gonna fill up. But I think they also pitted early at the earliest convenience instead of very late. And then I managed to do like the fastest lap, which I didn't expect coming at all, but probably the grip coming in. But then I was like kind of in the frame, and I was thinking, yeah, fuel's about right. Came out, and I was just about 3 seconds ahead of Eduardo, who had all the pace today. And then I somehow managed to hold on with the pace and avoid anything. And yeah, it was a bit crazy with the hypercar drivers, but especially the GTM were really nice. So I was thanking them for watching out, and it's kind of kept the gap to him. And yeah, didn't think that would happen. Incredible, really.
Absolutely. And of course, David, unofficially, you have won the GT3 standings. Don't know if you're aware of that or not. I know some drivers don't really look at points too much through, but with you beating JT Tammy, unofficially, you have won the GT3 championship overall. So how does that feel?
That's like the thing I was after, like a season start. I wasn't sure how the cars would compare, and how the poise. I was not that great or something. And then, I mean, of course, there was a bit of, Becky did help me greatly, because that's where I got a pointer on where to put the NSX, how to drive it. And then like Le Mans was like the outstanding drive of everything, even among like some of the tire concerns or something for me, or the car not quite being there sometimes. But it worked well until then. Then there was the both like Aston and NSX got 40 kilograms in, and it affected the NSX a bit more on a stint. But I was still trying my best, and it kind of worked out. Made some minor mistakes along the way still, and the road at Atlanta, the car didn't work at all, crashed out. And JT had his own mechanical gremlin, so we were like going in like 28 points apart, and I was told like you need to finish like 7th or something if JT wins. And so I was like, that's why I was shadowing him in the start of the race. I was just gonna stick close to him. So didn't think on the shortened race that I could beat the Astons, but it happened, and probably Eduardo's gonna say, "Oh, don't talk rubbish here," but it was really tight with the car on the racer's edge with like less wing dancing around. But yeah, I had it in mind, and of course coming here. I just wanted to seal it. So yeah, I'm really glad about that.
Absolutely. And David, of course, you won the race, you won the championship. Anyone you want to thank, anyone you want to shout out before we let you go, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I was just gonna shout out again, like to Becky again for the help out. She even tried to help me today, and in the end, I was like going on the setup that I kind of put together for like, I think this is gonna work. Want to thank some friends that probably watching this, probably the stream that I restarted because I didn't think it would work or would probably affect the performance. Want to thank my family because like I'm spending like driving now instead of probably eating downstairs or something. And I think I want to greet some companions and one like female companion that she deals sometimes with me being annoying on the phone. Yeah, thank you.
Always got to thank all the important ones. David, and a big shout out to you. Congratulations on the win. Congratulations on the championship. And I'm sure we'll catch you on the track here sometime soon.
Yeah, I'll probably back. Oh, I should have said, I'm also be thankful for my team, Blackhawk Racing, that I was driving under their colors. But yeah, thank you. And probably see you next season, I hope. Bye-bye.
Absolutely. Take it easy, David. All right. And from there, let's pull in our Hypercar AM winner, one Mr. George Angelides. George winning the Hypercar AM run here today. How's it feel?
It feels good. I mean, I did everything I could that I could control to go for fight for the championship. I didn't get the pole, which would have been another point, but I remember it didn't matter. Win Jerry second means that I lose the championship for 8 points. That's another second place without a championship. 5, I believe, is now the count. Congratulations to Jerry. That was a very, very hard fought battle throughout the season. I think he deserves every bit of the championship. He has been a fierce competitor throughout my years, and finally it's going first to him. I'm okay with that. I'm content. Among all other people, I think Jerry deserves it the most. Very good battles, very clean, very good drives. We're gonna give it a shot next time, I guess, next year.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, don't forget, we still have the historics coming up. So you've still got some time there, but I do want to look, at your season as a whole. It's been a hard fought battle. Watching things through, George, as you said, another run, another second place. When you look back, anything that you wish you had done different, or, is it just one of those, sometimes that's how racing is?
No, I don't. I'm not a big fan of the "this is how racing is." It's a very mathematical and very factual based sport. So the math is there, and basically, I just in the middle of the season, you see a bunch of 4th and 6th places that eventually was the points that they cost me today. It's just the competition in VWC is just very, very high. So you cannot slack off for half a season and then come back to it. It's just very, very, very difficult. Looking back, as you say, I did get one more win than Jerry. I got 4, including Daytona and Le Mans, which is great. But, I still lack this trophy of the championship. I want it to come at some point. And for that to come, it needs to be a season where it's way, way more strong and consistent, I guess, throughout its entirety, not just individual wins here and there or a last stint comeback.
That indeed. And George, looking at this race specifically, how did the red flag affect you? Or did it affect you at all? I know, of course, it wasn't exactly planned, but how did you get yourself back into the race after that?
it was hard because I was doing pretty good before it. So I was having a big gap to Jerry. Jerry was struggling. I think he had a spin or something in the first part of the race that put him way down the order. And so I had a big gap to Eric and John Mayer. And then I was just basically controlling the gap. I had to just change tires, and then I will go the rest of the way. Potentially, with Jerry being a little bit further back in the back markers, there was a potential, maybe he's gonna make a mistake or something is gonna happen that maybe make him finish fourth or below. Obviously, the red flag just resets all that. And initially, I had one of the Bice brothers Corvette. I don't know if you guys saw that, spun in front of me and then kind of tapped him. So Eric Moinet passed me, and then he had a good pace. So I eventually repassed him, but those 6 seconds kind of like cost. But at the end of the day, it didn't matter because Jerry is just doing Jerry Chen things. He's just super consistent, very good on his tires, and he climbed back from 5th or 4th position, whatever it was, the restart, all the way back to 2nd, with a big gap to the 3rd and 4th place. So yeah, just a great competitor. I think Eric Moinet got a podium. I think that's neat for him too. But yeah, it's tough when you have situations like this, right? Nobody wants to stop and then reset. But it's sometimes it's not part of our control, and it happens. Hopefully, everybody had a good time after it, and we, I guess, corrected most of the mistakes or of the mishaps there.
Yeah, and George, anyone you want to thank, anyone you want to shout out since you got the win here before we let you go for the night?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody here. And I'm probably gonna forget a lot of people, but just like the CMS for hosting VWC, the Storm Gang, rest of the guys for the work that they're doing, including the testers for putting the cars. Nothing can be done alone. So like if I didn't have the people to help me out with this stuff, that wouldn't help. The rest of the admins for their support, the stewards, most of all the competitors in all classes. It has been super fun. I love the fact that everybody kind of sticked out and became their championship for the entirety of the season, which is great. And obviously the broadcast booth. Loved your races, watching them back. A pretty good thing to have, like for archival purposes. That's pretty good action there. And yeah, and I hope for next year the same stuff.
Absolutely, George. We appreciate it as always. Take it easy. Congrats on the win. Unfortunately, you didn't get the championship, but hey, there's always next year.
Yes, there is. I'll try my best. Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for everything. That was great.
Thanks, George. See ya. All right, and now let's grab Robin Moling, our overall race winner here in Hypercar. Robin, good evening. How's it feel to win?
Oh, amazing. Good evening to you. It's quite an interesting one. I'm a bit sweaty, but, very happy to get it over the line.
All right, Robin, I'm going to ask the $1 million question. Where did you come from?
Well, it was eventful. So I think I qualified like P3, but I had an outstanding penalty from Indy, and I didn't do the last race. So I surfed the drive-through at the start, and I was way at the back. And then I got back up to like P6, and with the server restart, all of those gaps like basically dropped to 0 again. So I had a clean sheet, start from P6 again. I knew exactly that the fuel was going to be extremely tight. So I basically on the restart made the calculation and figured out that if I do the entire race with maximum fuel saving, don't take any risks, don't attack anybody, just do your own thing, I would just about get it to the line without a splash and dash at the end. And I nearly ran out of fuel and I just made it. So that strategy really played off for me.
So the red flag really worked things out, for you at least. I have to ask, did you get nervous when you saw the 3 cars behind you all storming up, and were you second guessing your decision at any point to fuel save maximum to the end?
Well, the question for me was I had a bit more fuel than the guys around me, but I didn't know if I would need to do an extra lap, and I didn't have enough for the extra lap. So I was like, I saw the cars behind. I was like, I need to get these moves done quickly and just build a small gap. So in case I run out, I need to, can do a tiny bit of management, a bit of, engine map here or there, lift and coast, just try to defend. But yeah, when I saw them charge up behind me, I was really worried, especially because Wouter he suddenly disappeared, suddenly appeared behind me. Like I had no clue that he was in this fight as well, and then he appeared like with 1 lap to go.
Yeah, it was wild to watch and just see it appear through and out of nowhere. And of course, your win here, big deal for the end of the season. It comes at the end of the season, but it's got to feel good to take this win into the break, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like I've been not, like one of the regular drivers. I actually started driving with CMS this year, and my first race was Le Mans, so I was never really in the championship hunt. I took it just race by race, show up, enjoy, try to do a good race, and I'm very happy that I could, crown that season at least with a victory at the end. Like I've had a pole position, I've had a couple really good races, but it just didn't come together for me. So to get it done in this like final race, it's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And Robin, anyone you want to thank, anyone you want to shout out before we let you go celebrate this win, the floor is yours.
Well, I want to congratulate Wouter on P2. Amazing drive in that Peugeot. I don't know where that came from. And obviously, Dan, he drove a really strong race. We had an amazing, strategy battle until the end. I want to thank you guys for the commentary all season. Like, I've been really enjoying watching the streams back. And I want to thank the CMS community and the stewards for their hard work, and the staff, obviously. It was really enjoyable, and I hope to do another season with you guys. So, yeah.
Absolutely. And it'll be awesome to see you in the next season. Robin, go enjoy this win. Congratulations. And we'll see you on the track sometime, okay?
Yeah. Enjoy your evening. See you guys.
All right. And from here, we're going to go ahead and do something a little bit different. We're going to go ahead and pull in our champions for the drivers and team standings. So we're going to start with the Bices. Let's grab Mike, Matt, and Steven Bice here. And we are going to talk to them because it was a clean sweep of the GT3 AM. Of course, Matt Bice winning the driver standings and the constructor standings, going to Trash Panda Racing Corvettes overall. Guys, Matt Bice isn't here. Where's he at?
Oh, he should be. He was in the waiting room with us. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, he should be here.
He's here, but he's. Oh, there he is. Okay, Matt. Let's start first with Matt here. Matt, you won the GT3 AM driver standings. How's it feel?
It feels like it is about time. I feel like I've been doing this forever to try to get this championship.
Is there anything that has played into getting the championship this year that you can credit to? Like any one strategy, one thought, any one personality trait, whatever it may be. What is it that's made things stand out for you this year?
For me, for the past couple of years, it's been making sure I catch all the races. I've been all over the place the last couple of years with moving jobs and changing situations. So I've missed the last few races of the past couple seasons, so that's really hurt me. But time in the seat, and now working with Mike and Steve to get good setups each race is really key.
All right, I'm going to ask this question, and I want Steven to answer this one. Because Steven finished second in the championship. I don't know if you all are Formula One fans, but was there ever your version of papaya rules? Was there ever panda rules that came into play for this championship? Was there ever a point where it was like, all right, Steven, I don't think I can get that, but I'm going to do everything I can to make sure Matt gets the championship? Or was it just whoever wins, good luck, gloves are off?
Yeah, for us, I think it was the gloves off situation. We care about our standings, each other's standings, but we never got to the point where we wanted to stop trying our hardest, right? So the other one had a better chance at finishing. There was some talk there at the end just to see if Matt being out in second, if he should slow down, make it to where I would end up finishing the season in second, but we didn't go for that. everybody's trying their best and trying to finish their best. So I think that's why it's so great working with these two.
Absolutely. And Mike, I have to ask the question for you, because you finished third through. How's Thanksgiving going to be for the family there? You finished third behind Matt and Steven. Are they going to hold that over your head at Thanksgiving? Any sort of fun things coming that way for being third to those two?
Oh yeah, it's gonna be tense, all right. We're gonna have to carry it over onto the golf course for Thanksgiving.
Who's better at golf?
Unfortunately, Steve's a little bit better there too.
All right, I will remember that. And guys, if you all want to just kind of go Matt, Mike, Steven, anyone you want to thank or shout out, we'll give you the floor here real quick for any sort of thanks you want to give. Because again, Matt, you've won the driver standings, and Trash Panda Racing Corvette has taken the team standings. So the floor is yours. Guys, are you still there?
Yeah, I think Matt was trying. I don't know, maybe his button's not working.
There we go. Working now?
There we go. Yeah, there we go.
Oh yeah, but I was trying to say before I had some hardware issues. This has been the best league that I've ever been a part of. They just run such a great show from the admin side to broadcast side. Everybody involved really makes you feel like you're out there and in the real world as much as you possibly can. And it's such a great group of folks to be racing against. Everybody plays hard, but they play fair, and it's so fun to do this every month. It's great.
Awesome. Mike, anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I want to thank all the announcers, the mods, the administrators of the community, and just my fellow racers. And of course, I want to thank my two brothers because for me, it's all about doing something with the family and having fun, and that makes it the best part for me.
Awesome. And Steven, last but not least.
Yeah, just thank you for everybody who takes the time, to organize this whole thing. Everybody in this community, it's been so great and so fun. And thank you all in the booth also for taking the time to do this. Thanks.
Awesome. Big shout out to you all. Congratulations again on the sweep through. We'll see you next season and see if we can't see the Bice brothers repeat that.
We'll be trying. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, and that is the Bice brothers. Let's go ahead and jump into the GT3 category where we have Dark Thunder Racing here to bring down, and we already talked to David Junt because David Junt got the race win. So let's pull down Dark Thunder Aston Martin. It's Overton, Tammy, and Walker. Here's James Walker. James, is any of your team around other than you?
Yeah, everyone left. I don't know what happened.
All right. Well, I guess you speak on behalf of Dark Thunder Racing. How's it feel to have the team championship?
It feels very nice. Most of that was down to JT, but myself and Matthew, helped him out.
Awesome. And what's been the key to the team's success? What's kind of set you all that league apart to pull that championship?
Mostly JT. His setups are really drivable, really easy to do. So it's helped me, especially when the weight got added to the Aston. I was struggling a lot, but his setups are really good, nice and easy, and we got the points on.
Awesome. And James, what's going to be the goal for Dark Thunder Racing in the next season? What are we thinking for you all?
I'm not sure yet. We'll see what cars are good, and we'll take it from there.
That sounds good. Any fun off-season plans that you want to talk about? Anything fun you're going to do during the off-season?
Nope. Just not drive for a month, I think. Take a break.
I don't blame you a bit there. James, anyone on behalf of your team or behalf of you personally that you want to thank, shout out? The floor is yours.
Yeah, just to George and Ross and all the guys at CMS and Storm Gang for the league and the mod, and then JT and Matthew for allowing me to join the team. That was really nice of them, and you guys in the booth. So for everything you've done for the league as well.
Awesome. A big shout out to you. Again, congratulations on that team championship. Pass your thanks on to everyone, and we'll catch up with you later, okay?
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you. All right. And then from here, we are going to jump in. Let's grab the Akira Mistral Porsche 963 drivers. And that is going to be in no particular order. Mayor, Jerry Chen, and Eric Monet, because we need to pull in Eric Monet. So, Eric.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you a question first.
Mm.
How does it feel for your team to have the team championship?
I'm the happiest team owner, of course. It was difficult to have a team first, then to have a title. Makes 3 years I'm in the league, and always most of the time at the top of the AM class. And yes, it was a good season with Jerry and John that made a good work. And we managed to get it from the beginning to the end, I think.
Absolutely. And Jerry, you managed to pull out the Drivers' Championship over your wonderful rival, your wonderful friend, George Angelides. I got to ask, how's it feel, one, to be competing with George again? And then two, how's it feel to know that you played a big part in that team championship coming out as well?
Yeah, it's me and George, we always find each other somehow. Every race, every championship. So it doesn't matter if we're driving a Reliant Robins or Hypercars. But yeah, it was a great season with John and Eric. So much fun, especially the Daytona and Le Mans with the driver swaps. We had so much fun just working setups and the week leading up to the races. Talking strategy and yeah, it was a great season. I did have a little bit of a freak out there in the first half of the race when Craig and I had a little bit of a get together, but I was like, okay, I still got an hour and a half. I just put my head down and as long as I get back to third, I knew I had enough points to cover George. So, but then we had our own recreation of Spa's red flag, so that was interesting. And then yeah, so when we came back, I was like, well, that fuel number isn't going to work for me. I'm just going to match George's strategy. So, and yeah, it's been a long season, but it's been so much fun. I think this is the most fun I've ever had here at CMS with Eric and John. So it was a great time.
Yeah, it was super fun to watch through. And John, I got to ask you the $1 million question.
Oh.
What are the plans
1 million.
for next season?
Sorry, what are the plans for next season?
Yeah, what are we thinking next season for the team? What's the goal? What's the dream?
Oh, we didn't or haven't talked about that at all. I probably won't be running with the guys. I'm getting old and starting to lose it. I do okay when I'm doing hot lapping by myself, but running in a pack, I'm starting to get flustered. So I'll probably be dropping off.
Go to the crew chief role.
Yeah, I could do something like that on it.
Well, John did build a lot of our setups, especially early in the season. When Eric and I didn't have much time, John was the one working on all the setups, and the cars were all dialed in, so his setups were awesome.
Awesome. And guys, I'm going to start top to bottom here. Eric, you first. Anyone you want to thank? Anyone you want to shout out before we let you go?
Don't know. One thing I'd like very much is to be there next year is hopefully Jerry, hopefully John, and rebuild the team and try to challenge again for a title.
Awesome. And Jerry, anyone you want to thank or shout out before we let you go? Of course, you have won both the drivers and the team championship.
Yeah, you, Bradley, Paul, and James, you guys have been awesome with the broadcasts. Thanks so much for doing everything. And then I just want to say thanks to our two fearless leaders, Ross and George. You know, nobody knows how much time they put in, not just with the league admin, but with all the mod stuff. None of us would be able to do this stuff without the two of them. So everybody should thank them.
Absolutely. And last but not least, John, anyone you'd like to thank or shout out before I let you go?
Yeah, just all the admins and all the guys in the behind the scenes that really make it work. You guys and George and Ross and John Yuan and all those guys, they do put a lot of effort in and a lot of time doing stewardship and all that stuff. And it really makes it for a better league and a lot of fun overall. So thanks, guys.
Awesome. And a big shout out to you all. Congratulations on the drivers and the team championships in the AM category. And we'll see how things go. And we'll see you next time on the track. Okay.
You bet. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. And that rounds out Hypercar AM, which leaves just Hypercars. And well, it's the guy who caused the red flag that we start with, Dan Kirby. And then we're going to grab John Ullian here. And then, of course, we can't forget, he wanted to cause the red flag. He said he did, at least, so that way he could jump into the race and cruise onto the sunset. Where's Barker at? Where's your teammate at, Barker?
He's not here today, unfortunately.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Guys, how's it feel to, Dan, of course, you have the Drivers' Championship. John, of course, you're an integral part of getting that Constructors' Championship. How's it feel?
Yeah, it feels good. Put a lot of work into this for this year, so it's nice to have it pay off.
Yeah, it definitely feels good. You guys probably remember we started with the Isoto brand, Isoto chassis first, and then we switched to Porsche. It had its own challenges and different tracks all year long. Of course, Daniel is our SGS test driver too, and obviously I'm part of the SGS. So we had non-stop work in the background. So yeah, it's been definitely a long year, and we are non-stop working on 2025 cars, both historic and modern. I took a little bit break actually from that, but yeah. So it's for us SGS guys, it's like a seamless non-stop work from one year to another. It's hard to just distinguish this year or that year, but yeah, definitely. When I look at 2024, I definitely see a improvement everywhere. Participation numbers are going up. Consistent driver numbers are going up. Consistently participating drivers. Teams are forming up. So it's really nice to see. And of course, you guys are in the broadcast booth, our commentators. Yeah, overall, everything is moving forward. Nothing is stagnated. So it's really, really nice to see that. And that's why we work so hard in the background. So really happy with everything. Like if you ask me to shout out, pretty much everyone that is involved, including drivers, admins, modders, and commentators. It's been a pretty amazing year.
Absolutely. And Dan, I gotta ask, what's the consistency been for you for all season to secure this hypercar standing? You and Dan Herlock have battled through, but it's been consistent the whole season, top to bottom.
Yeah, I think every race I was pretty much on the podium, except when I got freaking disconnected at Road Atlanta. uh, yeah, it's just about trying to do the best job you can every race, and kind of like do what you can and see where it ends up. And yeah, I put a lot of effort into practicing and stuff for this year, so it most of the time paid off pretty well, and I had really good consistent results all the way through the year, which definitely helped secure the championship a lot earlier than I thought it would. I thought it was going to run down to the wire, but I think we got a little bit of luck on a few occasions as well.
Absolutely. And Dan, I'm going to start with you since you got the Drivers' Championship. Of course, integral to help with the team championship, but also securing that Drivers' Championship before the final round even hit. Anyone you want to thank? Anyone you want to shout out before we let you go?
Yeah, just everybody here, everybody behind the scenes, Ross, George, John, Pat, everyone, all the admins, everyone running CMS, all of our racers, like Herlock, Bell, Kesby, everyone. It's been a really, really cool year of racing. A lot of close racing, a lot of good teams coming in. It was obviously really close all the way to the end, so that's what we love to see, is really good, close, hard racing.
Absolutely that. And John, anyone you want to thank or shout out?
I already covered that kind of, I said pretty much everyone, and that's definitely true. But specifically, I would like to say George has been an absolute dynamo, over the last few years that we've been working together as SGS and as CMS admins, R Factor 2 admins. So he has this relentless energy. I don't know how he does it at work and as modder and as admin. I don't know really how to describe this guy. He's pretty amazing, and if anybody needs a shout out, that's definitely him. He deserves all the medals if there are any out there for effort, as an admin. So the success is definitely mostly belongs to him and his energy.
For sure. And guys, as always, it's appreciated to have you here. We'll see what holds in the future, but congratulations on wrapping up 2024 on such a high note.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you all. Well, that I believe is going to be where we round out 2024 then. So 13 rounds plus the round 0, plenty of action. It's been ups, downs all the way around, but in the end, it is fireworks to the end. On behalf of Nico, on behalf of Paul Glover behind the scenes, on behalf of everyone in JP Broadcasting who has been on this stream at some point, James Parfit, Alex Goldschmidt, other people that I can't remember right now. We all just want to thank everyone that's tuned in and been here. Of course, like, subscribe, ring the bells, do all the fun things that support what we do here for free. But this has been Brad on behalf of Nico, on behalf of Paul. We've taken you start to finish. Be sure to join us for the rest of the Historics, but then in 2025, where we'll take you start to finish yet again. Good night.